Hello, YouTube, and welcome to episode 31. That's a happy number, isn't it? No, October.
I was thinking like when you turned 31. That was depressing, wasn't it? Like you hit your 30s.
No, that's what I'm
like,
saying.
ugh.
October 31st, though.
Yeah.
Happiest day of the year, right?
Right.
Yeah. So welcome to episode 31. Let's go ahead. I guess we can dive right in and hit the intro and get started.
He who is ashamed of his geekery has forgotten the face of Stan Lee.
You the proud, the geeky. Hello!
This is the podcast, Geekery Abides.
Hello and welcome to Geekery Abides, episode 31. My name is Tad, and with me again is Peter in the co-pilot seat. Watch out for Wookiee hair there, though. And just move the shackles aside.
Hey. You almost got like through the intro without insulting my favorite character in Star Wars.
Almost.
Almost, not quite.
That's progress at least, isn't it?
No.
Yeah, it's almost. I mean, that's at least heading in the right direction at least. I also noticed that we're both wearing shirts from what's his name, Frank
Miller?
Miller.
Yeah.
Cut his teeth doing some Daredevil, then jumped ship to the other universe, and
I mean, this isn't Frank Miller's best.
no, but famous for. I mean, he's not the only one that ever did Daredevil either, but
No.
probably the most famous runs of both
Yeah.
characters are from Mr. Frank Miller. So let's go ahead and dive on in. This is episode 31. If you saw the headline of the video, I guess, or whatever the title, the main topic is Lord of the Rings, but of course we have all the sundry things to discuss first.
Yep.
First of all, let's jump on into emails. If you want to contact the show, you can do that by emailing either of us directly. That is either Peter at geekeryabides.com or Tad, T-A-D-D, at geekeryabides.com. Any kind of input, feedback, whatever you want to send. We just like the other show that we do, we try to be as open as possible. I will say, though, ever since moving to the live stream thing, I really just think emails are nowhere near as big as they used to be.
Yeah.
On the other show, too. We hardly get emails anymore. But it's like at the same time, people can interact
There is still
real
the
time.
podcast listeners that do.
Yeah, for sure.
Yeah.
And I'm not saying like the email's a closed thing. I'm just saying I've just noticed the trend is ever since we started doing live streams, the emails are nowhere near as heavy as they were, 4 or 5 years ago. So, but yeah, that is still an option, though. That is the way to contact the show. Next up, let's get on over to watching, reading, playing, which is an interesting one for me this time. But what do you got? Start
Interesting
off
for you.
Yes.
Okay.
Bit different than normal. But
I finished Ted Lasso, started Brooklyn Nine-Nine.
you watched Ted Lasso before, though, yeah?
Yes, I have.
Okay, rewatch that.
Yes.
Okay.
Finished my rewatch of Ted Lasso.
Okay, I was gonna say if it was a watch, I would have been like, let's back up.
Hold up.
Yeah, let's talk about this for a second here.
No, yeah. We watched it.
Favorite character?
We watched it when it was coming out. You got us into it.
Okay, who's your favorite character?
My favorite character is Ted. I fucking love Ted.
Yeah.
Very closely followed by Roy Kent.
Roy.
I mean,
Roy's-
who doesn't like Roy?
He's the man.
But Coach Beard is a very close third as well.
He's
like
great.
the 1, 2, 3. Like those three together are just
yeah.
amazing.
What did you feel about the traitor?
Nate?
Yeah.
I hate him. I still hate him.
Even at the end?
I still hate him.
I actually, because
What did he do to redeem himself? Oh, he quit? Like, ooh. Like, if he had quit and gone to the papers with what Rupert was doing, then he would be redeemed in my eye.
Yeah.
I don't feel like he did anything to redeem himself. That's the thing, is like when you have a character who does that character arc to being a shitty character, usually they do something to redeem themselves. I don't feel like Nate ever did. I feel like he's a
Yeah,
piece of shit. He's still a piece of shit.
He did. He gave up the kind of the glitz and glamorous life for that girl, ultimately, and then just threw it all away for her, and then like moved to try to reconcile with Ted and the main team. Because it's funny, going into that last season, I'm like, I don't want to see a redemption for this guy. Fuck him.
Yeah.
Like, just I want to see him die in a car fire. But then the way as it played out, like I was actually okay with it. I'm like, I don't know what's happening.
I guess it's nice that the players went and asked Nate to come back before even talking to Ted, because that's the last. Like the book was originally titled by Trent Krim, The Lasso Effect.
Now, there's one of my favorite characters.
Trent Krim's awesome.
He's so cool.
I still don't like Nate. Because the thing is like I don't feel like he's learned from his mistake, because he never really had to like suffer. He quit. He wasn't fired. I feel like he should have had a confrontation with Rupert, been fired, then have a redemption, but maybe we can't do that in the span of one season. If we had another season, we could have done that, and then he could work his way back to getting with the team. Then I would have been fine with it. But just being like, no, I'm going to stay loyal to my girl. Oh, well, congratulations. Everyone that's a good person fucking does that. Oh, great.
Yeah, but he wasn't a good person. So for him, that was kind of the crossing of the Rubicon to move away from, because he was all about like self-loathing, and then like that permeated into like the being so fixated on like I now have the nice cars and people he was so fixated on what people thought of him. So for him to then move and say I'm going to give up this job, this lifestyle, and what everyone thinks of me for the girl, like I think for him it worked. For him that was like that's like the ultimate dying to everything that was like the dude that used to spit on the mirror type thing. Like he ultimately chose himself and his relationship. And I know what you're saying. Like usually people always pick the girl, but I think with his characters built in the way to where picking the girl would have been one of the hardest things for him to do, because it would give up.
I would have been more satisfied if he had not picked the girl and still been a douchebag at the end of the season, and like the final boss is him. Like if Rupert comes down to the pitch to yell at the manager and it's Nate, like that would have been more satisfying to me.
Yeah,
because then you could have flashed forward when Ted's leaving and everything, and there's a reconciliation there, and okay, Nate's working his way back. Then I would have been fine with it. But for him just to instantly get back in with the team and everything like that, it's basically what I don't like is it means that his actions had no repercussions. And I know that's Ted Lasso to a T. Oh, I forgive you. Yeah, I forgive you. Of course I forgive you. That kind of thing.
Yeah.
But it's just like, come on. What he did, he's a piece of shit. And all the things he said about them and everything, and they just let it go and everything. I'm just like, man, you guys are way bigger people than me. That guy would have been dead to me.
And I think that's the ultimate thing, is it's the Ted Lasso element where it's like...
Well, even like Beard, like with his confrontation with Nate in the hallway at his flat and everything, he's like, I'm doing this for Ted. Like, I owe him, kind of thing.
But ultimately what I would say is the show is Ted Lasso as much as the character's Ted Lasso, right?
Yeah.
The show didn't give him his comeuppance the same way that we would all want, because ultimately I think that's what the show's telling us, is you shouldn't want that. Like, you should be like Ted and just forgive. I mean, it's just interesting because they won me over in a way, because I was going in, I'm like, I don't want to see any redemption for this fucker at all. That was my heart going into the season. And then when it all kind of unfolded, I'm like, okay.
Did you like his girlfriend?
I mean, yeah.
I never liked her.
Yeah.
I maybe it's just her personality, but I don't like women who act like that, where it's just like, or even like men, like people who act like that, like the off-putting personality. Like, what are you trying to do? Like, are you trying to make me uncomfortable? Are you trying to make me feel bad about myself? Like, does that make you feel good? Like, I don't know. She kind of just like rubs me the wrong way. So
yeah,
that's probably the reason why. If it had been someone like Keeley or Rebecca, then I would have been like, yay, he chose her. But he chose her, and I'm like, awesome.
And see, me, I like her more than like Keeley, personality
dude, I love
wise. And I don't mean character wise, I just mean personality. Like if I were, someone that was like looking at courting one of the two ladies, she'd be more my speed than Keeley.
What about Rebecca?
Rebecca's a fox.
Yeah.
She's great.
Dude, yeah. She is. She's up there in my favorite characters as well.
Yeah, she was really great. I really loved it.
Yeah.
Sorry, that was a huge tangent into the watching
it's
reading.
Ted Lasso.
But, it's that's such a great show. I still hope that something else comes from it.
Roy Kent.
Yeah, like a spin-off show or something.
Instead of Lasso, it's just Kent.
Yeah. Oh, I love it.
It'd be great.
But sorry, what did you finish through yours?
No, I haven't. So finished Ted Lasso, watching Brooklyn Nine-Nine, and then my wife's favorite streamer, Jeremy Dooley, she mentions it in her chat. He started an uncapped subathon where he just is 24 hours a day until the donations and stuff like that. He has a timer. Each one adds time. When that timer hits 0, he'll finally stop. So he's been going since April 1st, nonstop. What he does is he puts on his old videos when he's sleeping, and then he just keeps going. Currently, the timer when I left to come here to record was like 94 hours. Still, he would still have to play. So yeah, that is taking up most of our April. I'm still reading End of Watch, the third of the Bill Hodges by Stephen King, and playing. I got into a new game. I've owned it for a while, but I've never played it. I got really into Fallout 4.
Oh, yeah?
I'm playing Fallout 4. I played Fallout 3.
So you're ready for the show coming soon, then? This year, isn't it?
I will not be coming to PC.
No, the show.
The show?
Fallout show?
Oh, no, I will not be watching that.
Why?
It's on Amazon. Fuck Amazon. I don't watch ads. Fuck them. If I pay for if the streaming service was provided to me for free without ads, and now you're going to charge me for ads, I'm not watching anything on your service.
So you're not watching The Boys then?
Nope. Dead to me. Amazon Prime Video.
I mean, I rarely ever use it, but I'll certainly get the ad-free couple bucks add-on to when
bucks. I'm not giving them another dime. They're not getting another dime for me for that. Their streaming service isn't worth it for that. So
I mean, I pay for it for the shipping. So yeah, if I have to pay a couple bucks for the streaming service, that's fine. But
that's where I'm paying for the membership for the 2-day delivery. The video thing was an extra feature, and now they're going to start charging me for an extra feature. You know, it's like if you suddenly went to a burger place and they started charging you extra for each fry sauce that you got.
Some places do.
Anyone who's not from Utah, fry sauce, look it up. It's delicious. But I know some places do that, and it's always off-putting to me.
Yeah.
A condiment with my meal should be free.
Yeah.
So that's where it's just like, yeah, can I get an extra fry sauce? Yeah, that'll be 35 cents. That'll be 50 cents. And now it's up to like $1 in some places. Like,
yeah. No, and
it's off-putting to me. I'm so mad at Amazon.
I've always been okay with paying for ad-free because I pay a little bit more for a few streaming services.
Sure. No, and I get that because that's how it was when they started. But like, if Netflix goes ad-free, I'm done.
What?
If Netflix adds ads like people have,
I thought they were
rumored, like people have rumored, I'm done. I'm not going to pay extra just because you chose to add another tier to your payment system, your subscription system. It's stupid that they have the right to do that. Where it's like, okay, I'm the thing with Amazon is like I know it's probably outlandish and it's never going to work, but supposedly there's a class action lawsuit because they're violating their own contract by springing this on people who have signed up like me. I signed up for a year of Amazon.
Yeah.
Well, I shouldn't have to pay extra all of a sudden just because they chose to add something. So that's what they're saying is like that's not legal for them to do.
Yeah. I mean, I'm sure there's something in there saying they can change it.
Of course, there's something in there. I mean, it's Amazon for God's sakes. They can afford all the lawyers they want. But
yeah.
No, I'm not excited for the Fallout. I haven't even watched the trailer.
I haven't either. But
I watched the teaser, but then they released like the full trailer, and I'm like, it's on Amazon, so I don't give a shit. Maybe I'll get over it, but right now I'm just mad.
I mean,
don't charge me extra for something that was free.
Especially if the Dark Tower ends up on Amazon.
Oh God, don't do that. Don't do that.
I mean, that's still my thought process of where it'll probably end up, just because they're in the Flanagan business now. So, and that's true. Flanagan's there too. So, whatever the next follow-up to Follow the House of Usher, horror-wise, whenever that happens, will be for Amazon. So, no, and I mean, I'm definitely not a fan of it. But it's like all these places. It's the weapons race that these companies have all gotten into with their products and stuff, and it's increased costs, and for most people they're okay with just ads, because then it's like, well, my price doesn't go up, I just get ads. But then for someone like me, I'm like, cool, I'll pay a couple bucks to not have those ads, because that's ad free is more important to me than like the cost I get relatively.
The one part I left out about my Amazon rant is that I gave it a shot. I went to Amazon Prime and I watched a movie right now. And I watched Law Abiding Citizen. 2-hour movie. It has 12 to 14 ad breaks, and each one is 2 to 3 minutes long. That's ridiculously.
Yeah.
That is a ridiculous amount of ads, and of course, it's the same 3 ads repeated every single fucking time.
Yeah.
Like, good lord, dude, it's like banging your head against a wall. It is so bad.
No, I know, man. I mean, it's that way with like podcasts too.
Yeah.
Like I've been listening to a lot of podcasts, which gets to where are you finished with yours then?
Yeah, that's it for me.
Okay.
God, I'm just playing the hell out of Fallout 4. Like, I think it says that I actually can look on Steam and tell you how much I've played, and it's just recently.
So why I said mine was different?
Yeah.
Is because watching, I don't think I've got a single thing.
No, really?
Yeah, I've. So the reason being, it's a fewfold. One, baseball just started.
Right, and you got
So-
like the whole MLB thing. You could watch any game, right?
Yeah, I could watch any game,
Except for the Rockies is blacked out.
who cares? They're hardly a baseball team, for God's sake. But yeah, this year they finally have it to where my team, which technically we're in the region for, I could buy a package for them and watch their games. So I've been watching a lot of that, but I've also been listening to a lot of podcasts. Last time we were kind of wrapping up and then whatever, because I was going to Dan Carlin. Well, that inspired me, so I've been listening I went and found somebody. I heard somebody in the audience before the show started mentioning that they had learned about Dan Carlin on Joe Rogan. And I'm like, I didn't know he did Joe Rogan, so I went and searched it, and he had done like 4 episodes or so,
okay.
and every one of them were at least 3 hours. And I don't listen to Joe Rogan much. It's just like if a specific guest is on that interests me, I'll listen to an episode. So I ended up listening to like, I don't know, maybe it was 4 episodes at 3 hours apiece, so it was ended up being
Quite
a
a
lot.
bit.
And then I dove into some of the hardcore history addendums, which is like the shorter podcast he puts out. So I've been listening to a lot of podcasts, and then baseball. I literally just haven't had time to watch anything. No shows, no movies.
Baseball is one of those sports where it's like games 6 out of 7 days a week or 5 out of 7 days a week. So
yeah, it's usually about 5 to 6 days a week. So it's like I just haven't had much time, and that's not going to be like consistent through the rest of baseball season. But just right now, like I haven't.
It's the very start of the season.
Yeah, exactly. So I it may be the first time in 31 episodes that I've said there's nothing I've watched.
I've played 67.3 hours in Fallout 4. And I started the game back when I first bought it a few years back. I played like 20 minutes, like get the opening cutscene and stuff like that, and then I didn't like the feel of it, and so I quit. And so I'm giving it another go, and I absolutely love it now.
Yeah. And so for me, reading-wise, I haven't read much, but I am still reading Swan Song, the Robert McCannon nuclear Holocaust book. Also, I just found out because I was reading it, I'm like, dude, has this been adapted? I don't think so because I would have heard of it. Looked it up. Guess what?
It has?
It's being
Right now?
developed right now. I literally think there was something in like January of this year that like announced that like, oh, they're now developing. So that's on its way. So I can't wait for that. But here's where the other side of it is, though. Where I've been slacking in the last number of episodes is playing. I haven't been playing a lot of stuff.
Right.
But I have a little bit of dabbling with Star Wars Battlefront still a little bit. But overall, I decided to turn Spider-Man back on. Because
Spider-Man 2?
Because I remembered that the original Spider-Man, I think it's my 7th 100% playthrough. I left off because the new one came out and it was like at 99%. I literally had the last boss fight to go do. So I literally turned that on, went and did that last boss fight, which is actually really hard when you put a game away for a while and you come back into one of the most difficult.
To a boss fight?
Yeah. So I went and did that, finished up, 100% of it, 7th time I've 100% of that game. And I decided, you know what? I've never replayed Miles Morales. I've never replayed 2. So I dove into Miles Morales last weekend. Just finished the boss last night. I do have a couple small things I still need to wrap up.
To 100%.
To 100% it. So that'll be my second 100%. And then after that, I'll roll into 2. So I'm just kind of playing it chronologically and doing the replay for Miles and part 2 for the first times ever replay. So a lot of video gaming. That probably also is why I'm not watching anything.
Well, it's basically a movie. Those games are so freaking good.
Yeah, very cinematic. So
I can't wait for Spider-Man 2 to come out on PC.
Yeah, it's great. It's funny.
When it does, I got to figure out what controller I'm going to play it on. I don't own a PS5, so
you wouldn't need. You could do. I mean, a PS5 is basically an Xbox controller. So,
but the touchpad has different things, doesn't it?
Yeah, that's true. I wonder how they.
Because like Spider-Man. Spider-Man on the PS4 controller has different controls.
Yeah.
I wonder if I have to have a PS5 controller.
Not the first Spider-Man, but Miles Morales may have. Because
Spider-Man did.
The first Spider-Man, there wasn't a thing on PS3.
Yeah, it's a PS4 game. It didn't come out on PS3
or PS4. Either way, whatever it is.
But there's the touchpad that takes you to the in-game menu when you hit the options button or the start button. Sorry, I know everyone calls it something different. It's so stupid.
Yeah.
But the start button that takes you to the actual like quit settings.
Yeah, but the
menu.
touchpad it doesn't function as a touchpad in the first game. It's just a button basically.
It's basically a button.
Whereas
yeah.
Miles Morales in 2, it's actually like you swipe one way to do something. So you're like, I don't know what they're gonna do.
So
with
if I try to play with my Xbox controller, I don't know if it's gonna work, and I don't know. And it's not integrated. It's not. I wonder if it's gonna be integrated to work with a PS4 controller.
I don't know.
That's part of the porting things that I have to wait for. And they're saying that the Spider-Man 2 port should happen late this year or early next year.
Hayden won that PS5 at work.
Right.
He mentioned that.
Yeah.
So then I was texting him. I said something. Oh, you jumped into Spider-Man yet? He's like, yeah, I jumped into 2 because it came with it. I'm like, no, dude, you got to stop right now.
Stop right now.
Like, you got to go play the first 2. Like
yeah.
I'm like, you probably already got spoilers for the first game.
Yeah.
Like immediately in 2, they're addressing things from the end of 1, right? So it's
Yeah.
like, I'm sure there's already spoilers you've ran into. So, but then last time he texted me the other day, he said he was like into the Doc Ock and Vulture fight in the first game. So I'm like,
You mean Vulture and Electro?
Or yeah.
Not Doc Ock.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So he was in that fight. So I'm like, okay, cool. So he did bounce back to the first game, and he's chugging right along.
Okay.
And he said it was like super addictive and everything you would imagine to say. I mean, I don't know if I've ever 100%ed. Because I am not a 100% game guy. That's not my thing. But the fact of 100% of that game, maybe it's 6 times, maybe not 7. I think it is 6 times. So 6 times 100% of a game in what have I had the PlayStation for a year and a half, something like that. So that's quite a bit of time. It did make me realize though, like I am still heavily neglecting The Last of Us. So I think after I complete through, because Miles Morales I'm pretty much done. After tonight, I'll probably spend like a half hour and I'll probably 100% it. I'll be done. Then I'm going to do Spider-Man 2 and then I'll probably actually dive into The Last of Us and then play Last of Us 2, which I've never played before. So
I have Last of Us on PC and I've never played it.
Yeah.
I need to play it.
So that's fun.
Got to see the bunny scene.
Bunny scene.
I sent you the video of it. I send it to you every time it comes up.
Oh, yeah.
Where it's the person watching, like the streamer,
Yeah.
and she reacts like that's the cutest thing I've ever seen, and then the bunny gets shot by the air.
Oh, it's glorious.
Yeah,
it's
every
glorious.
time that comes up, I'm like legally required to send it to you. There's certain videos that, like with my wife and with my best friend, that if they come up, I have to send them to you.
I've even been slacking on Instagram recently. I just have not spent a lot of time on Instagram.
No, that's actually true. Now that you point that out, you've only sent me a couple reels over the last like week or so.
Yeah,
I should have checked in on you. I'm a bad friend. I should have been worried about you. I'm gonna be more aware of it now, though.
All right, let's jump on over to the news. The first thing out of the news gate, we're starting in the DC corner. James Gunn, the first one we have here, says the DCU is always going to be about quality first. He says, quote, "We won't greenlight a film until we have a finished script that we're happy with, and in general, we won't cast a film until the script is finished. This is why some projects are moving faster than anticipated and why others are moving more slowly. It's always going to be quality first no matter what." So a lot of people are kind of responding to this, saying that, yeah, the DC film universe is in the right hands, and I can agree.
Yeah.
Some people are even seeing is this a shot at Marvel a little bit even, because Marvel's had some issues where
there's a general consensus that the latest stuff from Marvel since Endgame has not been up to snuff.
Well, even like Blade, like how many rewrites have they done for Blade now?
Yeah.
They've had Mahershala cast. Like they just, and I don't know. I don't see James as the kind of guy that would have shots towards Marvel. It's not how I view him. But it is kind of interesting that, what he's saying, and maybe it's not even shots like he's taking a shot, but so much as like he's seeing what Marvel's doing and he's going to learn from it. And it's a good thing because it sounds like that's what I want to hear if I'm a fan of something, right?
Well, we had that with there was a couple the Justice League didn't have finished stuff, right? Like Zack Snyder was in charge of it, but obviously he had some personal issues that came up, unfortunately, with his daughter and everything.
Yeah,
and Joss Whedon filled in for him.
Yeah,
but they had a finished script, didn't they?
Yeah, I think this is more a Marvel.
More poke at Marvel then,
Yeah,
right?
but again, I don't think it's like I'm going to take a shot at you because you're my enemy. I think it's probably more like he's kind of seeing what's going on over there, and he's like, we're not doing that.
Yeah.
I'm not doing that here. Like,
if you came from a company that was doing something wrong and you go to a company that does the same thing, you're not going to do what they were doing wrong.
Yeah, no, you're going to learn.
Yeah.
So I don't necessarily see a lot of negative from it. Honestly, just as a fan of at least one character. I mean, I'm a fan of two characters heavily in DC, but ultimately that makes me happy. And, with Superman coming next year, I am excited with hearing things like this.
I mean, he's over Batman now, so
yeah, exactly. Yeah.
I mean,
yeah. So makes me happy to hear. So next up, we've got Nolan talking about that line from
Speaking
the
of
Dark
Batman.
Line. So previously on an episode, and I don't think you were here for this, Christopher Nolan talked about being haunted by the most famous line in The Dark Knight, primarily because his brother wrote it and he did not write it. And of course, you know what line we're talking about, right?
The Dark Knight. Most famous line from The Dark Knight. A couple instantly popped to my mind. Here we go from the Joker. That's the one that that's the reason why that's the one I quote the most.
Yeah.
Here we go.
Yeah.
That's the one I always say.
Iconic wise, though.
It's the bank, isn't it? Like right at the beginning. No?
No. It's a Harvey Dent line.
Really?
Yeah. You either live long enough, or
okay.
You either die a hero or live long enough
to become.
It's
see yourself
the
become a villain.
fucking
Okay.
line from that.
Right,
movie.
right. Of course. Yeah, of course.
Yeah, because I remember when I saw the headline, I'm like, I wonder what line he's talking about, and I thought for a second before I clicked, and I'm like, I bet you it's the villain line, and it was. But then Nolan basically said it kind of burns at him a little bit because it wasn't his line, and it is one of the most memorable and iconic lines from the movie. But now Jonathan Nolan actually was being interviewed and spoke about that line that he wrote.
Yeah.
He says it came later in the script. We've done a version or two of the script where we were looking for something that would distill the tragedy of Harvey Dent, but that would also apply to Batman. The richness of Batman is in the way, is in the way this principled, almost Boy Scout-like figure is wrapped up in this kind of ghoulish appearance and his willingness to embrace the darkness. So I was looking for a Greek tragic figure. So, and that's kind of where the line came from. Which, yeah,
that fits Harvey Dent's character too.
Yeah, and it could apply to
Greek
Batman.
tragedy,
so.
yeah,
yeah, and it could apply to Batman. It's like that's always the danger, right? We are one bad day type thing. So,
speaking of Batman, I have to tell you this real fast from Fallout. So there's different weapons in Fallout, and you can like upgrade them and stuff like that. One of the things you can do is you can give them a name. So like I got a gun from a guy doing a quest. It's called Righteous Authority. And that made me realize, I was like, I should go give my guns names so I don't accidentally sell them to a vendor. So I had a pistol. And I'm like, what am I going to name it? And I'm like, I got to do it something from my... So I named it Joe Cool.
Wait, what?
Joe Cool? Joe Chill, sorry. The guy who shot Batman's parents.
Oh, okay.
That's my pistol's name.
I thought it might be something gunslinger related.
No, Joe Chill. I was like, that's the first thing that came to my mind.
And to me,
I mean, I have a Batman wall behind me when I'm playing, so.
To me, though, I'm too much of a, I don't know, maybe I'm a Batman noob, but for me, it's still Jack Napier that pulled that trigger.
Oh, yeah.
Which is one of the coolest lines in that movie, too.
Yeah.
Have you ever danced the devil in the pale moonlight?
Yeah.
It's great, great stuff.
But yeah, they actually officially canonized it now, that it's Joe. Is it Joe Chill or Joe Cool? I think it's Joe Chill.
I know they also finally canonized in the comics that Jack Napier is actually the Joker's name. That was only like less than 10 years ago that happened.
It's Joe Chill, not Joe Cool. Yeah, Joe Chill.
Oh, okay.
Is the one who gunned down Martha and Thomas Wayne. So yeah, I named my pistol that, and then my shotgun I named it my boomstick.
I mean, naturally.
Right. I mean, is there any better name for a shotgun than this is my boomstick?
Onion Slayer 9000.
Onion Slayer 9000. That's one of your classics. I love that.
All right. So next up, we've got Colin Farrell talking the Penguin Show.
He's not in that show. I don't know why he's talking about it.
He said, quote, we wrapped it, man. We did it. Stuck a fork in it about 2 weeks ago. It was long and a really wonderful experience, and it's dark. That's what I can tell you about it. It's really dark and really heavy. I think certainly it was doing it. I think it certainly was doing it, which is not to say I didn't have fun. I had an amazing time, but it is incredibly violent. So those are some.
I would hope so. That's the thing that's great about it, is that this is where you get the kind of like stuff you don't see. Was the Batman rated R?
I believe it was. Yeah,
for violence alone, right?
Yeah, I think so.
Because you see a guy get brained in the very like first scene. So
Yeah. I think that first scene alone probably gets it an R rating. That with that fucking hammer with the
not a hammer,
the mayor
carpet lifter.
Yeah, whatever.
It's you got to know that it's a carpet lifter. It's important. But yeah, you're gonna see. I'm glad they're gonna keep the tone from the Batman into this. But also, let's be perfectly honest. The Batman focuses on the hero.
Yeah.
This is focusing on the villain.
Yeah.
See, you want to see the seedy undersides, and you want to see that kind of stuff. You don't see that stuff when you're focusing on the hero.
Yeah.
You see him fighting the bad guy.
That car chase.
So
still with Penguin.
Oh yeah, dude. I pull it up. That's one of those scenes that I just
good,
watch.
Dude. It's so good. It's done so fucking well, dude.
I got you.
And what was it? Like an hour into the movie before you even see the Batmobile? At least, wasn't it? It's a ways in.
That's the first time you see it, isn't it?
Yeah, that's a ways into the movie.
Yeah.
I remember the first time in theaters being like, we haven't seen the Batmobile yet. It was all over in the marketing. Like, we actually covered it on Dark Tower because the filmmakers said before the film even came out that they were inspired a bit by Carrie or Christine.
That it's a character in and of itself.
And they wanted it to have like a menace and shit. So I was just like, it dawned on me and I was like, where the fuck is the Batmobile? And then it was like not long later was that scene where you see the shadow in the distance in the background. You're boom. So, and that I'm getting chills. That chase was fucking brilliantly done. Then he goes on. I have one more quote from Mr. Farrell. I almost called him Mr. Cobblepot.
Call him Mr. Cobblepot because apparently that's who he is.
He says, quote, it's one man's rise to what he's always dreamed of inhabiting, which is a certain power or social status, and the death of Carmine Falcone at the end of the film leaves this vacuum in Gotham to be filled, and so there are various people that are grabbing for the power, and this is Oswald's journey trying to rise to the top through extraordinary obstacles. It's super dark. Lauren Lee Frank wrote a really twisted 8 hours of television. So
excellent.
Adding that twisted in there too. What do you say? Dark,
Sign me up.
heavy, incredibly violent, twisted. Just here's some of the buzzwords there.
Yeah. And that's what I'm here for, and I'm glad that we got like the adult version of Batman without just going like super Snyder.
Yeah.
You know?
Yeah.
Like Justice League and Batman versus Superman is Snyder.
Yeah.
Snydified. And I rewatched 300 recently.
Yeah.
And I will say that I realize now that movie got way overhyped. Like, it's good.
Yeah.
It's a good movie.
I think it's good for its time.
It's not.
I just don't,
it's not great.
I don't think it holds. I don't think it. And also, it could be an age thing. You know, we're not 18, 20-year-old kids anymore. We're now closer to 40, and so like, does the 300 strike with a 40-year-old the same way as it does an 18-year-old? I just don't know that it does. So
yeah, exactly.
I think that could be part of it too. But
I'm just glad that we have like the adult, dark and gritty Batman, but instead of just being dark and gritty and still PG-13. That's the thing that. If you're going to go dark and gritty, go all the way. I was talking to my sister about this the other day. She suggested I was in a World War II kick a couple weeks ago, and that's why a lot of the stuff that I mentioned, Masters of the Air and stuff, Band of Brothers, The Pacific, I rewatched all three of those.
Yeah.
I watched Unbroken, which is the story of the Olympian who his bomber gets shot down over the Pacific. He spends weeks out to sea and then gets captured by the Japanese, and he spends time in a Japanese camp, POW camp, which, if you know your history, is not a good place to be. Japanese and Germans were not very nice to their prisoners of war.
No.
At all.
No.
And I was watching the movie, and I didn't realize that it was PG-13.
Yeah.
And I was talking to my sister about it. She's like, did you like it? I'm like, I liked it. I had one little critique, and she goes, what's that? I said, well, it's PG-13. And she goes, oh, it is? I'm like, yeah. She goes, oh, I didn't realize that. And I go, yeah, anything with World War II, almost any movie, any series about World War II kind of needs to have an adult rating.
Yeah.
Because it is one of the most horrific things that has ever happened in human history.
Don't Disneyify it.
Yeah, don't don't Disneyify. That's a great way of putting it.
Yeah.
And that's what they did with Unbroken. Like, I
Yeah.
wish that they would have done the full story, because there was some heinous shit that was done. And the time at the POW camp, it was like they didn't give it the true justice. And I'm sure that if they had, it probably would be up there with like Schindler's List and The Boy in the Striped Pajamas, with like, this is pretty fucking messed up.
Yeah, there's the new one that was Oscar in the Oscar realm called The Zone of Interest. And it's somewhat controversial because I think, if I understand what it's about correctly, it's about the staff and folks of a concentration camp. And so have you ever seen that picture where it's just like that? It's a real picture of like the concentration camp group doing like a group photo, and they're all laughing and smiling and whatever. It's basically, from what I understand, it's a movie of that, where it's like, these are normal people. These are, they laugh, they have a good time, but their dated job is running this concentration camp. And so you could see why that'd be controversial, but that was one of the Oscar movies. It didn't win that I know. I don't know if it won anything, but I do want to see it because I always find those kind of things interesting. So next up, we've got more Farrell. And it is Farrell talking his favorite versions of Batman. Let's see. He says, my favorite Batman actors or movie. He says, Heath Ledger. Heath takes it, I don't want to sit on the fence, but I enjoy so many of them. I love Jack Nicholson as well as the Joker. Then he goes on and says, and these characters of lore are so well designed initially that they just withstand it. And then he goes on and says, it was like Christian Bale was asked a question I saw once about the new Batman that was coming out, that was coming, and about Robert Pattinson playing Batman. And Christian said something along the lines of, and I paraphrase, that these characters, they survive and they invite multiple interpretations.
Yeah.
So, that's definitely cool. And he says, and I also love Danny DeVito, of course, as the Penguin. I grew up watching Tim Burton's films. Farrell nodded. But I go back with the show as well to Adam West and Burgess Meredith, the first Penguin I ever saw. There are so many of them. Who my favorite is, I don't know. And then he finishes up by saying, I have a soft spot for Michael Keaton because I was like maybe 10, 11, 12 when I saw that, and I was just obsessed with it, And so, of course, picking his favorite Batman. Because I think we're now at a spot where everyone's letting like the rose-colored glasses of Christian Bale fall away a bit, and they're being objective about it, and everyone's realizing, it seems to me, they're all coming back around to the fact that Michael Keaton
was a pretty damn good Batman.
Is, in my opinion, still the best Batman. Not to say other dudes haven't done great jobs about it, but he...
Are you saying best Batman period or best live-action Batman? Because Kevin Conroy would like to have a word. Bust out your Ouija board. He'd like to have a word with you. Rest him.
I just love it because he's saying it here, but I've been seeing it a lot over the last number of months where I keep seeing discussions about it. I'm just seeing Keaton's name, whereas about 10 years ago, I wasn't seeing Keaton's name anywhere, and every time I brought it up, it's like, oh, whatever, those weren't as good. Like these Christian Bale movies are the definitive Batman, and so it's kind of cool to see people coming back around to Michael Keaton because I really do think that he was a masterful Batman.
You mentioned Danny DeVito, and in honor of him, we have to.
Bill, could be worse. My nose could be gushing blood. Your nose could be gushing.
Oh, I love it. It's brilliant. Brilliant stuff. Next up, we got a rumor that Boyd Holbrook is in talks to play Two-Face in the Batman Part 2. This is just rumor.
Okay.
Mr. Boyd Holbrook. You would probably know him. He was the main goon in Logan. He played... he's like the main bad guy that's chasing Logan the whole time. He also played the Corinthian in the Sandman. And
is
then
he like the mercenary looking? Yeah. Okay.
And then he was the Clobber in Indy 5. He was the one that got brought back to the past and was killed there.
Yeah.
So he's played a number of goons in the last decade or so. The rumor is that he is in talks to play Harvey Dent.
I'd be okay with that
in the Batman 2. So.
Yeah, I would be okay with that.
All right.
Again, I don't know if I've said this on Geekery Abides. I've said this before on Dark Tower Palaver, but I don't know if I've ever said this on Geekery Abides. I am never going to be one of those people that poo-poos an actor's casting again because I was wrong about Heath Ledger.
Yeah.
I was absolutely wrong about Heath Ledger. When Heath Ledger was cast as the Joker, I wrote off The Dark Knight. I'm like, this is going to be stupid. I can't believe they're doing this. This is the worst casting in the history of Hollywood, da-da-da-da-da, and everything like that. You knocked my socks off.
Yeah.
Obviously,
Yeah.
world-class performance by Heath Ledger as the Joker. And that's where I made a promise to myself back in 2008, 2009, around there, that I will never, ever poo-poo an actor taking a role again. I did dude, you know how much flack I got because I'm a Batman fan that Robert Pattinson was cast as Batman?
Oh yeah, I mean,
you mean the Twilight Boys Batman?
Same as Michael Keaton.
Yeah.
We just weren't a lot.
He was a comedic actor.
We weren't old enough to understand that was going on. At the
I
time.
just remember so many people giving me crap about Robert Pattinson and everything like, oh, it's going to be a crappy movie and everything like that. It's in my top 3 for Batman
I
films.
was okay with it from day one because I'm like, I've seen and heard reputation of a lot of the indie shit he's been doing outside of Twilight, and I've never heard a negative thing about him in those things. So I'm like, he is a fucking actor, and I've even seen a few things where I'm just like, this dude can fucking hack it, dude.
Yeah.
So when he was cast, I'm like, fuck this idea about Twilight.
Yeah.
He is going to fucking kill this role.
I'm past judging actors.
Me too, except for Will Smith.
Before they, even Will Smith has had good roles. He has.
I don't know about that.
Sir, watch I Am Legend.
I don't know about
Watch I Am Legend and Pursuit of Happiness. I'll challenge you to watch those 2 movies and tell me he's not
Pursuit
a
of Happiness
good
is the
actor.
only one that I've ever seen that came close to making me think that the dude can act. But I think he dispelled his entire fuel of being an actor in that one film because I've never seen anything else where he's not just Will Smith.
He's pretty good in I Am Legend.
I don't know.
It is pretty much.
Besides the
Will
dog
Smith,
dies, so.
Good night, sweet prince.
Oh man.
I should not be allowed sound buttons, Tad. I really shouldn't.
All right. So next up, we've got an interesting one here. A lawsuit reacently happened, and it revealed that Matt Reeves
No.
was offered a Batman film previous
Uh-oh.
to the Batman, and he turned it down. And part of this court case
Is saying that he took their
says to why he turned it down.
Okay.
So this is interesting. There's a few layers to this. Basically, there's a guy who claims that the Batman ripped off his script that he wrote back in the 90s. But not only did he not win this lawsuit, but he got roughed up by the judge because the judge essentially said that he had no legal basis to write a Batman film in the first place because he did not own that intellectual property.
Oh, yeah.
So for him to then turn around and say, you guys stole my idea when I stole your intellectual property to write my script, the judge basically slapped him in the face and said, you're a fucking idiot. Like you don't own these characters. You can't you can't sue Warner Brothers over your idea when you stole their property to make your idea. But then he said, even on top of that, even if we set all that aside, your claims are so broad that there's no foundation that they even took your idea. So he got completely roughed up in court.
Okay.
So
what is he suing Matt Reeves now?
No, but
okay.
in part of this whole thing, the court documents interviewed Matt Reeves, and it revealed that he turned down a film in 2017 with Ben Affleck. So he was offered an earlier
the Batman movie with Ben Affleck. No, because there was Batman vs Superman was supposed to be the introduction of Batman. Then there was supposed to be Justice League, and then there was supposed to be a Ben Affleck standalone Batman movie. That's what I mean.
It's probably what it was.
Standalone Ben Affleck Batfleck movie.
Probably, yeah.
Wow.
So, and then here, because again, this is all public record.
Okay.
So we can get to the quotes here. So Reeves says, Warner Brothers sent me a pre-existing screenplay written by a writer named, and here's where Matt proves that he is a very good judge of things.
Okay.
A writer named Chris Terrio. The Rise of Skywalker, Batman versus Superman. Or he wanted the Batman versus Superman, Justice League, one of the fucking mediocre DC movies. The dude wrote one good movie, I think it was Argo, and ever since then he's just been shitting the bed at everything he does. So chances are this wasn't a great script, in my opinion.
Which is why he
Yeah.
it down.
So, and he says, and writer and director Ben Affleck. So, was Ben Affleck in talks to direct his own movie?
Yes.
So it would have been that movie then. He says, upon reading it, I determined that the story and the resulting film was not the project that I felt I wanted to do. So, which is interesting because Ben Affleck then apparently was looking to hire Matt Reeves to direct while he played Batman. So it looks
Okay.
like, so either way though, he wasn't interested in it. And then he said, quote, if Warner Brothers wanted to use this pre-existing script, it should use another director. I also told them an idea I had for an original Batman story that I conceived, a Batman detective story where solving the case led to discovering something unexpectedly personal for Batman. Warner Brothers liked the idea and hired me to make the Batman. So kind of an origin story of how it all happened, but it just
Chris Terrio wrote Batman vs. Superman and Zack Snyder's Justice League.
yeah. And Rise of Skywalker,
Yeah.
where somehow Palpatine returned.
He's back.
And then he says, then the last bit of quote here, I did not use any materials from the previous script written by Chris Terrio or any other material provided by Warner Brothers other than the Batman characters and universe. So all he took was
Yeah,
the
there's
intellectual property, so.
nothing similar to the Batfleck to the Batman.
Ultimately, they're going to grill him to basically suss out if he was given a previous script that maybe this other guy wrote. Again, it doesn't really matter because he has no claim to it because he doesn't own the characters. But in the midst of doing it, it basically turns out, no, this is all my idea from day one. But then in the course of telling the story, though, kind of revealed some behind the scenes that apparently he was in talks to do a previous Batman movie.
Okay, clarify something for me. Make sure that I'm understanding this. Guy in the 90s sued over a script for Batman that he says the movie was too close to his.
No, so he wrote the script in the
script.
90s, and then, turn it into Warner Brothers. Nothing ever came of it. Decades later, the Batman comes out. He's claiming that the Batman has got huge ideas that was from his script.
Okay.
But then again, the judge is like, well, you can't.
I thought it was like he sued back then and he's trying to sue now.
No.
He's only suing now.
He's suing now, basically saying the script I wrote back in the 90s, large parts of it are in the Batman.
I'm curious what he's claiming.
I think from what I picked up somewhere else, and I didn't take it down here, it was a Riddler script. Like Riddler was the focal point of his script. So I'm sure there's
no one's ever thought of that before.
No, but I don't know if there's like an element of like the detective name. I don't know. I don't know what his claim is. It doesn't sound like it was good enough to hold in court.
That's really why I'm curious.
In and of itself, but then on top of that, the fact that he's then
we had that one over on Dark Tower, Palaver, that Stephen King was getting sued by a guy who wrote a story where a guy carries a 6-shooter.
Yeah,
and it's like, wait, that's your basis? Is that's what you think that you own? Is that? No, other people could write a story about a cowboy carrying a 6-shooter.
Yeah,
like that's not far fetched. So I'm just wondering if it's as bad as that one.
It doesn't sound like it's as bad as that, except for the fact that you add on the idea that he's basically trying to
stealing
claim
other people's property to write a story.
Yeah,
to write a screenplay, and then, well, okay, so he turned in the script to Warner Brothers, but he didn't have their permission.
No, it's a spec script. It means that he writes it himself, turns it into them. Like that's one thing. I mean, it's dumb because you're ultimately writing something that you can never own.
Yeah.
Where he's making his big mistake is then now he's in the court of law trying to claim ownership over ideas on this script that's built on a foundation
on
that
something
you can't
that's
own.
copyrighted.
Yeah.
Yeah.
You can't own
that's
that.
owned by the people that you're suing.
Yeah.
So it's like if I tried to write a Pennywise thing and then tried to sue Warner Brothers.
Yeah, you could write it, you
Like-
could send it into them, fine. But if down the road a movie comes in and it's similar to yours in your mind, you have no basis to sue them because
you didn't have permission
yeah,
to write it.
You never, yeah, exactly. So yeah, it's interesting. I mean, there's a million people out there that think they came up with that. In fact, I know that like when it comes to like directors and a lot of writers, they basically will make it a habit of I will never read anything that you ever write. Like you can't send another screenwriter something because that opens them up legally to where if there's ever a way they can prove that you sent me a script, I'm a Hollywood
and you
screenwriter,
influenced it.
and then down the road I write something, you claim whatever. So what I'll do is I'll just say I'm never opening your file. I'm never going to read your and then people are like, oh, that sounds like a dickish thing to say to people.
No,
but
it's
ultimately,
them protecting themselves.
yeah, it's like no, I'm protecting myself. I'm never because if I end up coming up with an idea, because there's only so many ideas in the world, and sometimes 2 volcano movies come out in the same year because people had similar ideas. I mean, they were different volcano movies, but
that's still so crazy that happened.
And Bugs, there was the Bug movies that came out the
Ants and
same
Bug
year.
Life, yeah.
Like it happens. So it's like people to protect themselves just don't fucking read scripts. I mean, studios have to read scripts, but
Yeah.
a lot of writers, they just won't because
No, and,
they
the
don't
thing
they
is,
don't
like-
they don't have the legal teams that a studio has either. So it's like,
That's portrayed in movies and TV shows all the time that they won't like or they say, yeah, send it over to me, and then they never read it or
Yeah.
or anything like that. But also in the real world, I've heard instances of people giving interviews and being like, no, I won't read your script.
yeah, because you're polluting yourself ultimately.
Yeah.
You're exposing yourself to a potential lawsuit down
And
the
it's
road.
happened before in Hollywood where people have been sued for having ideas that they didn't realize were from someone else.
Yeah.
They just happened to read it, like,
Yeah.
like hanging out at someone's apartment and their roommate is a writer, and you read something and you're like, oh, that's kind of cool. And then later on, you're like, oh, man, that's a good idea. And you
Yeah.
write it down, but you don't remember where you got it from. But
Yeah.
you do. Your
Yeah.
subconscious,
The subconscious,
does. Yeah,
yeah.
exactly.
Yeah.
Because isn't that there's a famous one. I want to say James Cameron with Terminator and the whole Matrix lawsuit.
Yeah, there was
that
there
one.
was that one massive lawsuit about
That was one that definitely, like, that paid out, didn't it?
for
Like,
some, yeah.
Yeah.
For some stuff, yeah.
There was the woman who was like, no, I wrote this. And
Yeah.
they're like, yep. Yeah, she proved it. Yeah.
Yeah.
And James Cameron, they had proof that James Cameron had access to it.
Yeah.
And that was the thing, is like, that's the other thing that's so hard to prove, is like, how do you prove that someone read something that you just willingly send them?
Yeah.
So it seems kind of stupid to do that.
Yeah.
But if you're trying to break into the business, I mean, you got to do everything you can.
Yeah,
right?
people will try whatever for sure. So that is it for DC. Let's move on into a small little corner for horror. The first one, a new Chucky film is coming.
Don't they have a TV show right now?
They do. So this is actually from the creator of Chucky, Don Mancini. So Don was on the Scream Dreams podcast and said, like anyone in this business, I want to do more things. I mean, at this point, though, if it's only Chucky, I'm totally cool with that. But I do have other things I want to do. I'm working on a new pilot. I'm also actually in the early stages of working on a new Chucky movie.
Oh.
At this point, my goal is just to keep working. Whatever keeps me working, I'm very happy. So
Go read the chat. My wife is not a fan of Chucky.
yeah,
She doesn't do dolls.
he's a happy little fella.
Yeah. It was really kind of funny. I completely forgot about the Annabelle stuff in The Conjuring. So she was not happy with me when we watched that.
The first one.
Yeah, the first one.
Oh man.
Because it's got a bit with Annabelle in it.
Yeah, that
so.
whole first 10 minutes of the movie is
Well, no, even later they have Annabelle come out of her case.
That's true. That's
So.
true. Do you remember? This would have been ages ago when my brother was still with the girl he had his daughter with.
Yeah.
We had that Halloween marathon here.
Uh-huh.
I think I don't think you were living here yet, but we just had like a 6.5, 7
Yeah,
hour
yeah,
thing
yeah.
where we were
I
just
remember
watching-
that.
And they came over midway through Poltergeist.
Yeah,
And
the clown.
And she was all like, "Is there any fucking clowns in this?"
And both of
we're
us
just
were
like,
like, no. It's
It's ghosts.
Ghosts, yeah.
Because like, honest to God, I forgot.
I did too.
to this-
I said no too, and you would have said no if you had remembered, because you would have loved to see her reaction. I would have said yes because I'm that kind of a person. And I'm a Jedi. Unlike you.
Yeah.
That I would have told her, like, no, there is one
you,
scene.
You see the clown at the beginning.
Yeah.
And then you don't see it till the end.
Yep.
And we were right in the fucking middle, so
When
it's
she
like
came in,
I'm
yeah.
so far removed from that first scene that like we're seeing the fucking trees and all this crazy shit going on. I just I just didn't remember. But yeah, last time I saw her a couple years ago, she still mentioned that. She's like, I still think you knew that fucking clown was in that movie.
The way you reacted made me think that no, because if she had
Now-
reacted, because she got up and left.
Oh, after fucking screaming in
Yeah.
terror for a minute. Yes.
Yeah, she got up and just left the house.
I will say,
I don't think she came back either, did she?
no.
Yeah.
But I will say, those moments of her terror did fill my heart.
The fact that you didn't laugh maniacally instantly made me realize that you really didn't mean to do it.
No,
That's how I knew.
But now,
When you mean to do it, you laugh.
Sometimes accidents happen. You got to
Yes.
enjoy the result, and I
Yes.
certainly enjoyed her terror.
You
and
did. You did.
with those long gangly arms
Yeah.
coming around the kid's throat.
Right, babe? Clown?
She's saying she will not be seeing that movie. So you haven't watched Poltergeist with her, huh?
Oh, she has seen Poltergeist.
Oh,
She's
okay.
talking about Chucky.
Oh, okay.
She will not be seeing Chucky. Chucky and It is where she's drawn the line with me. Dolls and clowns. Now, if I
What about a clown doll?
see,
Is
that
that-
has not been outlawed
Is
yet.
that a double negative where like the two
Yeah,
negatives cancel
two negatives
out?
cancel out, right?
Yeah, so it's a
That's
po-
math.
It's a positive. Yeah.
Math. That's math.
It's science.
That's science.
Uh,
So if we ever find a clown doll movie, we can watch that one.
indeed. What about Dead Silence? Are there any clowns in there?
No, just ventriloquist dolls.
All right. So next up, Fear Street is announced a new film. Have you watched any of the Fear Streets
I
on Netflix?
haven't yet.
I've only watched the first one.
Okay.
I will say just one thing: it's amazing.
Okay.
But there is
That's
a
your one thing. Not allowed to say anything else.
there is
Cut him off.
there is a wonderful bread slicer scene that I cannot say enough nice things about, and I'm going to leave it there. Leave it to your imagination. A bread slicer. So
I'm trying to remember what a bread slicer is. Like an industrial one?
yes, something you'd see.
God.
Something you'd see at a grocery store.
Oh God.
So they announced the new film and this is the synopsis here. It is called Fear Street Prom Queen. It says prom season at Shady Side High is underway, and the school's wolf pack of it girls is busy with its usual sweet and vicious campaigns for the crown. But when a gutsy outsider is unexpectedly nominated to the court, the other girls start mysteriously disappearing. The class of '88 is suddenly in for one hell of a prom night. That felt a little carryish there as I was reading it, but
It reminds me of a R.L. Stein.
R.L. Stein. This is R.L. Stein.
Oh, is it really?
Fear Street's R.L. Stein.
Well, that reminds me of a series that he did back in. We were borderline high school, I think, when he came out with this. It was a little bit young for me, but I was reading it because I liked Goosebumps. It's different stories set in one school year. So at the beginning, you had a yearbook with kids' pictures.
Oh yeah,
And the previous books had people dying because it was
Yeah.
like a little bit more mature than Goosebumps, and so it said deceased over their names in the
That
yearbook.
sounds
I don't
fa-
remember any
That
like
sounds
if they were
familiar.
cursed or why all this shit was happening to them, but like one was attacked by werewolves and the book was about werewolves. The next one was about ghosts and he was just like basically Goosebumps but with a high school class.
Yeah.
That's what this reminds me of, like
Could
kind of like
be.
that. Like maybe he's taking that and adapting it.
So the first one was Fear Street, and I think they've renamed these now because people got confused because it's dates. So they actually added in. It says Fear Street Part 1, 1994. Because that's the thing is there was 3 of them, and
And they were out of order.
and they're actually reverse order. So it was so Fear Street now they're calling it Fear Street Part 1, 1994, Fear Street Part 2, 1978, and Fear Street Part 3, 1666.
Whoa.
So, and then now we got Prom Queen coming. So that's awesome. Next up, we got Scott Derrickson of the Black Phone fame, and
Yeah.
he did Doctor Strange
And they're doing a Black Phone too.
as well. Yep. He is set to direct a movie called The Night of the Hunter. He is teaming with his longstanding writing partner Robert Cargill, and the synopsis for it is, and this is based off a book, and I think this is adapted back in like the 50s or 60s. And it is they're adapting in. It says, quote, a serial killer posing as a preacher who marries a widow solely to gain access to her deceased husband's hidden fortune. Pal's stepchildren John and Pearl become the targets of his relentless pursuit as he seeks the money hidden by their father. So that sounds fun.
That does.
So, and Scott Derrickson's awesome, so I'm sure he'll do a great job. Next up, we've got Pierce Brosnan talking the Taylor Johnson Bond rumors. I just blanked
Still
out-
just rumors, right?
Still just rumors, yeah, but they asked Mr. Pierce Brosnan, which, of course, is one of the
Alumni.
emeritus Bonds.
Emeritus. Fancy.
And he says, I think the man has the chops and the talents and the charisma to play Bond. Very much so. I read the news about his possibilities of being Bond, so I would definitely tip my hat to the fellow. And also to note, the two actually worked together on a movie in 2009 called The Greatest, and they played a father-son duo. And Pierce, when talking about that and remembering that job, he said about, is it Aaron, right? Aaron Taylor Johnson?
Yeah.
He said about Aaron, he is the greatest in it. So, pretty cool. And I think that would probably make it a first time if we had a Bond that played a son of a Bond in a previous movie.
Interesting.
So we'll see. I thought it was kind of cool to see an update from on that rumor from Pierce, giving him the blessing. Next up, we got Spielberg talking Dune 2, and he has some high praise for it. This
Good
is
movie.
This is actually Spielberg interviewing Villeneuve on the DGA podcast, which is the Directors Guild Association. They have their own podcast. And I would recommend, if you're a film fan, especially if you like the behind the scenes of films,
Like you do.
go to this podcast, because literally a lot of times it'll be two directors, one interviews another. And it's just
that's cool.
So seeing Spielberg interview Villeneuve is like, come on.
Is that how you say his name? Villeneuve?
Yes.
Dennis Villeneuve?
I believe so. Yeah. Denis Villeneuve.
Denny? Oh, God damn it.
Yeah, definitely.
All I can think of whenever I see like the VILL is Villanueva from fucking, it's a university for basketball.
Oh, yeah.
So March Madness and everything, and that just
Yeah.
happened. So that's just like, every time I see that, I'm just like, Dennis Villanueva.
Yeah.
So wrong. I hate that my brain does that to me sometimes. Like, I did that in the Dark Tower Palaver. Chris O'Brien, I thought it was Conan O'Brien. God damn it.
In your defense, it was Colin O'Brien.
Colin
so that's
O'Brien.
pretty close.
Okay, Colin O'Brien.
But here's what Spielberg said to him on this podcast. He
Okay.
says, "You have made one of the most brilliant science fiction films I've ever seen."
Holy shit.
Can you imagine hearing that from fucking Steven Spielberg, the man that made E.T. and Close Encounters of a
I was
Third
just
Kind?
saying, those two movies are well regarded as some of the best science fiction.
Yeah. And then he goes on the podcast later, and he says, Spielberg says, "It's an honor for me to sit here and talk to you. Let me start by saying there are filmmakers who are the builders of worlds. It's not a long list, but we know who a lot of them are, starting with George Milas and Walt Disney and Kubrick and George Lucas and Ray Harryhausen. I include in that list Fellini built his own worlds, Tim Burton, obviously, Wes Anderson, Peter Jackson, James Cameron, Christopher Nolan, Ridley Scott, Guillermo del Toro." He says the list goes on, but it's not that long of a list, and I deeply and fervently believe that you are one of the newest members of this list.
Hell yeah.
Said that to Villeneuve. So that's, again, I couldn't imagine what that would be like to be Villeneuve, like having one of the greatest fucking directors and filmmakers of all time saying this shit to you. And he says, "This is
the man who helped George Lucas with Indiana Jones. You know,
yeah."
that's all.
And then he says, "This is a desert love story, but for such a desert-loving film, there is a yearning for water in this movie. For all the sand you have in this film, it's really about water, the sacred waters that are yearning for green meadows and the blue waters of life. You film the desert to resemble an ocean or a sea. The sandworms are like a sea serpent, and that scene surfing the sandworms is one of the greatest things I've ever seen."
It was amazing.
It was pretty great. And he said, and then he says, not only that, he says, "Greatest I've ever seen, period." Then he says, "ever," with an exclamation point. So
Wow.
he says, "But you make the desert look like a liquid." So
Yeah.
pretty cool to see, man. I mean, I also love seeing like legends, like just being film fans as well. But I can only imagine what that must feel like for Villeneuve to hear that from Mr. Steven Spielberg. Speaking of Villeneuve, we have the next one about him, a rumor that his next film project is nuclear war.
Oh, you're intrigued.
And exactly. So
Yeah.
not only am I intrigued, but this is an interesting crossing of the streams, because I told you
How have you never played Fallout?
I played the original. Like on
No,
it was
like,
a top
like,
scrolling.
yeah, but how have you never played like Fallout 3, which is a shooter that is set in a post-apocalyptic world where nuclear bombs have been dropped? Without your fascination with nukes
Halo?
and everything, like
I mean, that was in the era when Halo was pretty big for us still, so I just don't think I was really looking into other games back then as much.
you need to give Fallout a try, dude.
Yeah.
I'm telling you, you do. Start with Fallout 3.
But that's the other thing too, is where you start with all this stuff. But this is an interesting crossing, because I told you, I've been listening to a lot of podcasts,
Yeah.
listening to some Dan Carlin. Newest one just dropped on his Addendum series.
Yep.
And he's interviewing this lady named Annie Jacobson. Annie Jacobson just wrote a book that Dan was interviewing her about. It's called Nuclear War, a Scenario.
Yeah.
And so I'm listening to this podcast, and then here we are getting to this, where it sounds like her book has now been purchased and optioned by Legendary Entertainment, and the rumor is that Villeneuve is the person that they want to direct it.
Oh, hell yeah.
So the book description, there is only one scenario other than an asteroid strike that could end the world as we know it in a matter of hours: nuclear war. And one of those triggers for a war would be a nuclear missile inbound towards the United States. Nuclear War, a Scenario explores this ticking clock scenario based on dozens of exclusive new interviews with military and civilian experts who have built these weapons and are privy to the response plans, and have been responsible for those decisions should they need to be made. Nuclear war scenario examines a handful of minutes after the nuclear missile launches. So it sounds like from the Dan Carlin thing was literally the very beginning of the book is 1 second after the missiles launched from an enemy country. And the whole thing, and Dan was like, I didn't think I would actually like your book, he told her. He's like, because she does it in like a narrative way. So she's an investigative journalist. So she went and talked to like all these people to the point where at a few times she actually got warnings from the government where they're like, you're getting close to like Espionage Act with the people you're talking to doing research for this book. But then what she did is she basically built a narrative for this book to kind of show what everything she learned, she distilled in a narrative way. And Dan's like, I didn't know if I would like that, but he's like, ultimately I ended up loving it. So it's just interesting that these things are happening at the same time. And now Denis Villeneuve, one of my favorite directors, might be directing it.
So it's like a narrator's.
Oh, it's like you read the book and it's like, then the president gets a phone call, that like, so it's narrative, but it's obviously not a real narrative. It didn't really happen. It's almost like historical fiction. Yeah. But it's like not history. It's like what would happen. And she did all this research with all these experts to figure out what would happen if, the book starts 1 second ago, a missile just launched. I mean, it's going to take 8-10 minutes for it to get to America, but it's been launched. Now,
what's happening in those 8 to 10 minutes?
What happens over the next course of hours?
Yeah.
So, very interesting. And Denis Villeneuve was
the book itself. Do you know much about the book?
No, it's on my fucking list. Like I don't even have the podcast entirely finished yet with Dan, but I have it on my Audible wish list because I
might want to listen to this because if it's just like the first, so it's not post-apocalyptic.
No, it's the events happening.
It is apocalyptic. Yeah, it's during the 1 second the missiles launch, and then the course of the book takes place from there on.
Yeah, and it's like 11 and a half hours, I think. So that was my first thing I looked. Okay. I was like, is it over 9 hours?
Is it over the 10-hour limit?
And it was. So I was like, yes.
Don't say 9 hours. It's 10 hours.
It's got to be over 9 hours.
I have Harry Potter that's 9 hours, and you won't listen to it because it's under 10 hours.
That's true because there is the middle ground. So yes, it's got to be 10 hours minimum.
Yeah,
for sure. Well, you gave me the one book, so I don't think we have to worry about.
Read it. Listen to him.
So
heathen.
Next up, we've got Star Wars Corner. The first one, Star Wars: The Acolyte showrunner, talks about hiring a writer who has never seen Star Wars. This has actually been a controversy because some people are just fucking terrible, and they've been talking a lot of shit on this show and the showrunner for hiring someone that's never seen Star Wars before. But here's her being interviewed, and she's asked about it, and she says, I just thought it would be good to have a perspective of a person that literally has never seen Star Wars until she was in the room. And she said to me, why do you want me in the room? I've never seen Star Wars. I have no idea. I think there's a dog in it, but I don't know anything.
Good Lord.
There's your Chewbacca reference. She does know that, hey, someone has never seen Star Wars, which, let's be honest, that's a fucking alien. Like, how hard is it to go through your life not seeing Star Wars, especially being a filmmaker? But on top of it, the one thing that she's able to pick out is there's a dog in it.
Chewbacca.
So,
he's the best.
And then she goes on and says, and I was like, first of all, you're an incredible writer. And the other thing I want to pause and say, there's a writer's room, right? So it's not like there's two writers, like the showrunner and this lady that's never seen Star Wars. There's like probably a dozen people in this room.
Hey, I need you to go write this scene. Go write that scene. And you're on the next episode.
And they get in a round table. They talk together. They spit ideas together, and they craft the story. But she goes on and says, you're an incredible writer, but that's why I want you here. I want you to be questioning the narrative. I don't want myself, who's a lifelong fan, to just be relying on a particular reference in order to create emotional beats. I want those emotional beats to be earned and checked by someone that isn't super familiar with them.
Good.
So yeah, this is all perfect. I mean, I was never buying into any of the negativity. I'm like, if they're a good writer, I don't fucking care if they've seen Star Wars like that. That might be good. And then she goes on. She says, and it was really funny because she finally watched the original trilogy over that Christmas. She watched the prequels too, but she kept texting me about the originals and was like, Luke and Vader are ... and all those things that we've all known forever were blowing her mind. And then the last bit of the quote here, she says, she was like, Luke and Leia are brother and sister. What the fuck? And then she was writing all these things to me, and I just thought it was funny. So she educated herself in order to be in the room, but it was really fun to have somebody in the room to help collaborate that hadn't seen the films previously. So pretty cool. It's pretty awesome to see, I think. Next up, in the Star Wars realm, Lucas has been named Hollywood's richest individual.
Really?
Nobody in Hollywood has more money than Mr. George
I mean,
Lucas.
it makes sense. He sold Star Wars for how much?
Yeah, he sold to Disney for $4 billion. The thing I've never understood though is because I think he was already pretty wealthy before that.
Yeah.
And I don't know if it was like all tied up in his ownership of Lucas, like the Lucas Empire, or if he actually had like liquid cash. So,
Yeah.
But either way, it says he sold to Disney for $4 billion. He's now worth over $5.5 billion. So I don't know if that's an increase. Who knows? But then it also mentions, the article mentioned that Steven Spielberg is second with $4.8 billion. But he also owns, like, I think DreamWorks, is it? So directors don't make that kind of money by being directors. Like, there's usually a lot of other things.
Well, Lucas also has Lucas Sound Studio, right?
Yeah, Skywalker Sound.
Sound, that's what it is.
Yeah, there's all, like, the entire Lucas Empire that he sold was massive, right? So,
But he kept Skywalker
No.
Sound. Oh, he sold that
yeah,
too?
he sold everything.
I know he sold Star Wars. I didn't think he sold Skywalker Sound.
Yeah,
Oh,
everything.
damn.
Yep, everything. So yeah, no, that's kind of cool to see, and I love it too, because I mean, we talked about Spielberg and how much he's awesome, but Lucas is obviously one that I love quite a bit. So it's kind of cool to see the good guys win.
Yeah.
You know, the right guys. It's not like some fucking asshole, like whatever, that's
Who
just
made 14 really shitty
mediocre, like whatever
rom-com movies.
Yeah, these are like visionary dudes that
Yes,
have radically changed filmmaking.
if you name the two people who have had the most influence on people when it comes to filming, you're going to probably come up with Steven Spielberg and George Lucas.
Oh yeah,
I mean,
yeah, for sure. Next up, we've got Daisy Ridley saying that she wants Finn as a Jedi in her next film.
good.
She also says up front, or she was asked about him being a Jedi and says, "I would love to see that, but it is not a decision for me." She basically says that's above her pay grade. But
Yeah.
she says she would love to see him as a Jedi in her film, which I
Yeah.
think a lot of us are hoping for. Next up, we've
What do
got.
you want from future Star Wars?
That's a big question. I mean, we've been tangenting so long. This news, I don't know if we're gonna have time for Lord of the Rings. I mean, we still got some time. We still have. We're only like.
Shit! It's
we're-
almost yeah.
Yeah. I'm just. We'll see.
I'll save that question.
No, I mean, we've already eaten up a lot of time. So honestly, we might just roll through and
Are we gonna bump Lord of the Rings
we
to
might
save it?
we might have to.
Let's save it.
So,
What do you want?
I mean, honestly, what they're developing is intriguing to me because like they're hitting a bunch of different areas, right? We got I was blanking. James Mangold is doing the Dawn of the Jedi. That's literally the beginning. Like
Yep.
that's Hugh Yang might exist, but beyond that, like this is like 15 Yodas previous to what we've seen before.
Yeah.
So, I really
We're
love that.
talking even prior to Knights of the Old Republic.
Yeah, this is
Yeah.
literally would be the first people that are figuring out the Force. I love.
Oh my god, I can move things with my mind.
Oh, how many times have I tried as a child or maybe as an adult to?
Force choke someone.
Oh man, if I had it,
I'd be choked.
if I had it, dude. But
Wait, give it one more try.
I love the diversity right now because you've got that going way back in that period. You've got the Dave Filoni movie that's short, a decade after Return of the Jedi, kind of that era that I really love, that post, Civil War. I love that period. So I really am digging that, and I've dug everything that they've done on the television side. So to see that movie coming, I'm super fucking stoked for.
Rogue Squadron's not dead.
Rogue Squadron. And
I don't believe that it's ever going to get made, but it's not dead,
then
supposedly.
you're also jumping to this Daisy movie that takes place 10 years after Episode 9. So now we're talking so far further in the future than we've ever seen Star Wars.
Yeah.
So now you're into the realm where the Skywalkers should not matter.
Yeah.
There should be nothing to do with Palpatine. There should be nothing to do with Vader. Like those things still exist. They're still part of history, but we can now start to see like what does it look like now?
Now that we're past that.
Well, not even like past, but maybe not even the past it because I think when you go to the old stuff, those shit doesn't exist. So and even like the Acolyte, which is that the newest trailer that came out with Carrie-Anne Moss.
The other one. The one you sent me in text today is the newest one.
No. I mean the live action though.
Oh, live action.
That's because there's that one. Then there's Skeleton Crew, which as a Stephen King fan annoys me because I keep conflating it. Whenever I'm like Googling, I'm always like, it's always like, oh, here's the Star Wars show. I'm like, no, I want the Stephen King thing. But so you've got that as well, which is like 100 years before Phantom Menace, which is kind of cool too, because it's like, what did the Jedi look like in the waning days of the High Republic?
The peak.
Yeah, and then you got this Daisy thing where it's like, cool, you now got a movie where it's like, let's see, because I was kind of hoping like before the Force Awakens came out, like, does Luke's Jedi Order take the lot, like the defeats of the, like Yoda? Does Yoda teach him or tell him like, here's where we all failed, do better? but it doesn't seem like he did. It seemed like Luke's Jedi Order basically had some of the same issues that the original Jedi Order had. So I want to see Rey's be like, we don't care if you have attachments. Like, yes, you've got to balance.
Like an evolved Jedi Order.
Yeah, evolve past like the dogmatic shit that ends up causing shit to go awry.
Don't go out and take kids from their parents when they're young, but have people come and get trained.
Yeah. Yeah, so I guess I'm trying to answer this, but it's hard to say. But I'm really, really happy with where we're at right now, because it just feels to me like you got this massive fucking timeline, and there's movies coming from different specs of it. So I almost feel like they're doing films that, I mean, a lot of us will love all of them, but there's also people that might have tastes of like, I kind of want still to be in that Mandalorian era, or I want something so far in the past that like
I want to see the birth of the Jedi.
Yeah. And so I think there's like, when I say diversity, that's what I mean. There's a diversity of like, it doesn't feel like there's just one fucking thing that Star Wars is, and they're just beating this drum of like, because I was kind of
Skywalker over and over and over,
and even
again.
the original trilogy, I was kind of getting a little bit tired of that a bit, where it's like, why is everything so fucking attached to the original trilogy? I get that every one of these filmmakers are filmmakers probably because of the original trilogy, but
it's a
like,
whole galaxy. Let's branch out.
Like,
well, you said it before, and I'll defend Tad here. He said this for nigh on 25 years. Is that one of the biggest things that he's always wanted in Star Wars? Show him the criminal underground.
Yes,
spice running and the huts and bounty hunting and assassins and stuff like that. Tad's always said that he's wanted to see that, and we got a little bit of that with Book of Boba Fett and the Mandalorian and everything.
Yeah,
and
I
you're
love
like,
that stuff.
Dude, absolutely amazing stuff with the Mandalorian and the Book of Boba Fett.
Yeah.
A lot of people didn't like the Book of Boba Fett, but I dug the fuck out of it.
Yeah, me too.
And everything. And so there's other sides of the galaxy that I feel like we haven't turned over those leaves.
Yes, and I think that we finally are in a spot now where when you look at the schedule, there's a lot of leaves that we've never seen overturned that are
finally getting
that are on the schedule.
It's almost like Disney had to first get out the Star Wars trilogy movies. We have to put out trilogy movies, and then we can start exploring the galaxy.
Yeah. But even like the first two Star Wars stories, right? Solo and I almost said Boba Fett, because that was
Rogue One.
That was the one that they were fucking talking about for ages. Was
Yeah.
they're going to do Solo and they're going to do Boba Fett, and they ended up not doing Boba Fett. It ended up being a show, Rogue One. But it felt like those two are so tied to the original trilogy. It's like, okay, they're not bad, but it's like, and they do somewhat.
I mean, Rogue One is literally the precursor to Episode 4.
Yes, like literally, like minutes before.
Like, you finish Rogue One, you turn on Episode 4, and
Yeah.
it's a one continuous movie.
Yeah, and I'm not even saying that to be negative. I'm just like, I love a point. That's what I've been saying over the bit. Is I love a point when we could just get outside of that, the shadow of the original trilogy, but also before and after. Like, let's see what did it look like when we're not dealing with Anakin Skywalker in any way.
Yeah.
And I think with Rey's movie, we're now at that spot where her stepping forward and doing her own thing. Yes, Anakin exists. Yes, all the stuff that happened, it's still there in history, but it should no longer have the same kind of weight that it did. Like, the entire sequel trilogy is basically in under the weight of Darth Vader, right? Kylo wants to be Vader. Kylo is driven, like
Kylo is Vader's grandson.
Yeah, he's his grandson. Luke is driven by the failures of there's all like Vader is he's almost more present in the sequel trilogy than he was in the fucking prequel trilogy.
Yeah.
He's just all over. So I love Darth Vader. He's my favorite character. But so I guess for me, I know that sounds weird that I'm basically saying that what I want from Star Wars is literally what it looks like we're getting. I will say I would like. I'm hoping that the rumors are true that Mandalorian and Grogu is going to potentially lead into Filoni's movie.
Yeah.
I'm still a little bit nervous that we're saying this is a one movie. It feels to me you can make an entire trilogy out of this I almost said Darth Maul. Out of this Grand Admiral Thrawn stuff. It feels to me more than just a one movie shot. So the fact that the Mandalorian and Grogu, they're saying, is probably going to lead into. So I'm kind of wondering if then another movie gets roped in somewhere, and now you've got a trilogy where it's like Mando and Grogu and then whatever, and then the Filoni movie, or the Filoni movie's the second one, and then there's a third movie where it's all comes to a fucking head. I just...
there's a question for you. Rebels has... so Ahsoka went and got live action Thrawn.
Yeah.
So Rebels, Ahsoka, Mandalorian, that's going to be our Thrawn then, right?
Yeah.
Okay.
So, and then the rumors before Bob Iger came back to Disney and said he wants more movies and not as much stuff on the streaming service is that they were like the rumor that a lot of people were talking was it was going to be like the old Arrowverse. And you're going to get this stuff where suddenly the Rangers of the New Republic, which got canceled, Boba Fett, the Mandalorian, all these characters that had been built up in Ahsoka, which didn't have her own show yet, but she had showed up. All these were going to come together to basically face Thrawn, and he would kind of be such a big bad that all of these Disney Plus things would kind of amalgamate into one. And now, like the Mandalorians, like Bo-Katan and the fucking Mandalorian reclaiming the Mandalorian Empire, like that will be part of it as well. And I think Cobb Vanth, like all these characters that we've seen. So I'm kind of wondering if they're all going to come to a head in that Filoni movie.
Yeah.
But that's where I get nervous because I'm like, is that really one movie? Because that really feels like more than one movie.
Yeah. Well, the second movie needs to be is Rogue Squadron. Build up the Rogue Squadron instead of having it during the peak of the rebellion. Have it be the New Republic.
Yeah, dude. Imagine if it starts on Endor.
That's where Rogue Squadron starts, and then it's building up an actual military, not a rebel alliance.
Well, imagine the first scene is literally the fucking Battle of Endor, the space battle. Like
from Rogue Squadron's perspective.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Focus in on Wedge or
Wedge
something.
and everything. Fuck yeah, dude. Sign me the fuck up.
And then from there, it's just...
Just hook it to my veins.
What about you? Turn the question on you. What do you?
I love. I agree with almost everything that you said. Highlighting the birth of the Jedi, I am super excited for. This is uncharted territory, like you said. We've never been here.
Yeah.
The closest we ever got was Knights of the Old Republic, which is an unsanctioned, not canon.
Yeah.
Thing.
It's just a fun video game.
Fun video game and everything. Yeah. But we never had. Where did the Jedi come from? Where did the Sith come from? Where did this all start?
Where did the Force come from?
Yeah, how did this...
the Force probably always existed, but how did people
tap into it? Yeah, that kind of thing. I'm excited for that. I'm also very excited with Rey and the future because what I want, and maybe I'm getting too much tunnel vision, what I want is the return of the Jedi Order.
Yeah.
I want...
That's what it sounds like they're doing.
I don't care if they evolve it, like what you said. Yeah. That would be fine. I don't care. But I want a working Jedi Order. I want the Defenders of the Peace. Where has that been? We've had 9 movies, and that's existed for 2.5 of them, for 3 of them.
Yeah.
It's the fall of the Jedi.
And Acolyte looks like it's tapping into that, too, with with the Carrie-Ann Moss one.
Yeah.
You've watched that trailer, right?
Yes.
Okay. Because that looks like that's getting into it. It's about 100 years before Phantom Menace. So it's like, cool. That's going to be like...
That's going to be great.
Yeah, that'll be cool to see.
I want to see more with... Because let's be perfectly honest. We're here for what we like in Star Wars.
Yeah.
The 3 things that I like most in Star Wars, Jedi, dogfighting in X-Wings, and...
Hutts.
And... Wookiees.
I love Hutts, dude.
For you,
dude, when those fucking Hutts showed up in Boba Fett, dude... Oh my fucking god! I geeked out so fucking hard when that fucking drum starts going, and then they come up the fucking street, dude. Brilliant, love it.
You're just like, yes, that's what I'm all about.
There's my.
Just hook it to my veins.
I'm here for Wookiees. I'm here for Rogue Squadron stuff. Snub Fighter. I feel like they are criminally underutilized. Like they're always just kind of like, oh yeah, they're there for a space battle. I'm like. Fighter pilots are fucking cool. Yeah. Like, they make movies about fighter pilots. Have you heard of Top Gun? Like, do it in Star Wars, and you're going to have a bitch-ass movie or series.
Especially because, like, for a lot of people, most of the highlights of a lot of the movies are the space battles.
Yes.
Like, that's...
And I can tell you right now, it's the one reason why I watched Star Trek. I wanted to see Federation ships go against Borg ships. And then Federation versus Klingon when I got into some of the older stuff, which is why there's one of the Kirk Star Trek films where they're facing off against Klingons. Mm-hmm. And at the end of it, it's 2 ships just pummeling this one Klingon
it's Undiscovered Country.
Yeah, where the whales, right?
No, that's Voyage.
Oh,
there's
that's Voyage Home.
There's almost no space battles in that one.
Yeah.
I think you're talking about that where you
Undiscovered Country, yes, because it's like the frozen prison planet, right?
Yeah.
Yeah. And at the very end of it, there's an actual space battle.
And they build the torpedo that finds them
when they're cloaked and everything like that. Yeah. Dude, I can tell you right now, I watched that scene probably a billion times when I was a kid. I loved the space battles. I remember that I don't remember shit about Deep Space Nine.
Really? Because that would
But
have
I
more space
remember,
battles, yeah.
but I remember there's a bitch ass wormhole scene where some force is coming through the wormhole and they build up a fucking armada.
Oh, dude,
there's Klingon, there's Borg, there's Romulans,
Dude, that's like
there's Federation,
That's
there's
like
everyone.
That's like 2 or 3 seasons worth, dude.
Yeah.
That storyline is like one of the biggest storylines in Star Trek, and it spreads over. Like in Next Gen, there was like 2-part episodes. In Deep Space Nine, they ended up getting to the realm where there were like 4-part episodes, and like, but then a lot of them are playing into this larger like If you like space, Deep Space Nine's the jam for sure.
And I liked Deep Space Nine. I watched a lot of Deep Space Nine, but I think what happened was that I started to get a little bit older as it went on.
Yeah.
And so I was like, oh, that's nerdy. I can't I can't like nerd stuff. I got shamed for it. So, that's one of those things that I'm embarrassed about is that I gave in to peer pressure and I stopped watching.
It happens for sure.
So, that's what I'm about. And so I want to see that with Star Wars. I want to see the Jedi come back.
Yeah.
And do we have a new threat that challenges the Jedi? Yes. Does it have to be the Sith? No. Give me a different threat.
Here's the other thing I'm going to say. There's a hole in what they've got right now. It's a 30-year hole between Return of the Jedi and The Force Awakens.
Yep.
And whether they're too fucking cowardly to recast the main cast, if they have to go animated, they need to start filling that shit in. And I know The Mandalorian's doing it a bit, but I want to see Han, Luke, Leia.
We've already had Luke in live action during that time.
And I just want to see, and whether they get their nerve to actually recast it, which is what I think they should do, or whether they go fucking animated like the Clone Wars, and they just give me fucking 6, 7, 8 fucking seasons of
I want it.
Of that inner period.
How
the
much
New
fun,
Republic era, I guess.
How much fun would it be to see Leia and Han get married and have Ben?
Yeah.
And build the New Republic while Han's dealing with the anxiety of not the anxiety, the inner turmoil of having to change from a smuggler to a politician.
Yeah.
Or a politician's husband.
Yeah.
He's the first man, first lady, so first gentleman. First gentleman, kind of thing. And while the whole while Luke's out there trying to build a fucking Jedi Order.
Yeah. Chewie's having his cubs.
Yeah. Exactly.
Are they cubs?
Yeah.
For Wookiees? You think?
They're kind
or
of bearish, so no cubs.
Pups.
Cubs. Cubs fits better. Less disrespectful.
But I think that's the hole they have right now, and I do actually really believe that behind the scenes, Filoni's working on it.
And I trust Filoni.
And I think Ahsoka, the fact Leia's next door in a fucking whatever meeting, I feel
they just need to cast her fucking daughter.
I feel like that was the wink and the nod, and I think that he was prepping people. In fact, I predicted that we might actually see her at the very end of season 1, which we didn't see.
Yeah.
But I do still think that around the
think
corner,
maybe Ahsoka season 2.
Yeah, I think it's coming, or whether it's the movies. But I do think that Alden Ehrenreich is going to come back as Han. You've already got what's his name playing Lando.
Yeah.
Cast Billy Lord as Leia, her daughter,
and then have Sebastian Stan play Luke.
The dude that did the body double for the CG looks so much like him that just use him.
Yeah,
for Christ's sake, they've got to do it. So I think that if you're going to say my wants, that's the one hole in the armor right now where it's like kind of the whole timeline of things. There's a hole that I want filled, and that is it right now.
Yeah.
The rest of it though, I'm fucking here for it, man. And what we got on the screen right now, this Tales of the Empire, nobody fucking knew this was in development. Suddenly a trailer drops, and hey, all the 6 episodes are dropping on May 4th. Which is the article. So I am transitioning into this topic as well.
Happy Star Wars Day.
But did you? I mean, you watched the trailer?
Yes.
What did you think?
Looks great.
Did you watch Tales of the Jedi?
No, I still have not watched Tales of the Jedi.
Dude.
I need to. Dude, I'm in such a funk with Star Wars that it's just like I have to force myself to watch them. Like Ahsoka, I was actually excited for because it was a character I like. I love Ahsoka. She's like top 5 for me.
So Ahsoka is one of the chunks of Tales of the Jedi.
Oh, that's probably going to get me to watch it.
So, and it's short. They're 20-minute episodes. I don't even know if they're 20-minute.
They're called short.
There's some of them that are like 10. I think they're closer to like 10, 20, or 10, 15-minute episodes.
Yeah. So I can sit down and watch all of them in the span of a movie.
Yes, easily. I know you got some stuff going tonight. Otherwise, I'd say do it tonight. But because here's one of my favorite parts of it. I don't know how much you were intrigued by it, but part of it goes into the actual leaving of the Jedi by Dooku. And so you kind of see some of the things that we see that are mysteries in episodes 2 and 3. You see him doing it. you see like
Oh, okay.
you see his actual leaving the Jedi,
Ordering the clones.
erasing
The archives.
the Camino. He actually has a showdown with Yaddle. We see Yaddle.
Oh, really?
The other Yoda that we see
Yeah.
in episode 1. Have you ever wondered why you don't see Yaddle ever again? Maybe Tales of the Jedi answers that. Also, part of Tales of the Jedi is a young Torga baby that is very strong in the Force, and a Jedi is coming to take her.
Oh.
Very short, and that's why I'm so excited for this, because honestly,
These are shorts too, right?
Yeah, they are. And what I love about this is this Tales of. I hope they just continue doing, because all it seems to be doing is coming in and putting like ligaments. There's like already these big things.
Yeah, we got the bones, we got the
you got the big
structure,
muscles.
we got the muscles.
You just need
and
a couple
everything.
ligaments to like
You need connective tissue
to really enrich
Yeah.
things, and that's what Tales of the Jedi did. And this Tales of the Empire, dude, holy fuck, it looks cool. Barriss Offee in there, Morgan Elsbeth. So I think it's cool what they're doing, because I think they're allowing these like shorts to just kind of fill in some gaps a little bit.
Yeah, that's a great point, and it's awesome to see that. But like you said, where's the stuff from post Jedi?
Oh, for sure.
Like all of this stuff seems to be like leading up to the OG sequel, in between or during the OG, not the sequel, the OG series,
Yeah.
the trilogy.
Yeah. No.
But where's that stuff post Jedi? Like,
Yeah.
it seems like, okay, you're just gonna stay in the dark for that 30 years. The flashbacks you get in the 7, 8, 9, that's all you're gonna get. It's like, no, fuck
No,
you.
I still think they're moving towards something on that, but right
I got a
now
question.
their plate's pretty full with everything else
Yeah,
they're
yeah.
doing. But I'm just saying that overall, when I look at the overall like list of things,
Give me that.
there's a window there where it's like, why aren't you filling that in?
You're
Please,
missing my left leg. Give me my left leg.
Please,
like,
please fill that in for me.
I got a question for you.
See,
You're a Star Wars nerd.
maybe,
Proud.
maybe,
Don't say maybe. Be proud, remember?
maybe not. Maybe go fuck yourself.
I say that one to my wife all the time.
What's the reference though? Uh-oh.
That's Departed.
Okay, yep.
Yeah.
Which I just realized yesterday. I was just like,
You don't own
lounging.
it.
I own it, but it's on fucking DVD. I have never upgraded that to Blu-ray or 4K.
How dare you?
Dude, what the fuck?
Oh, yeah, because you texted me when I was at Walmart. I'm like, hey, they got steelbooks here at Walmart now
Yeah.
and everything. And you're like, hey, look for Scorsese.
No, I had you look for the new Cameron
Oh,
movies.
Cameron movies.
Aliens,
That's
True
right. That's right.
Lies, and
That's
yeah,
right.
The Abyss.
That's right. You're right.
But what were you?
Episode 2, Obi-Wan Kenobi
It's a great one.
That's fucking Obi-Wan Kenobi.
walks into a diner and talks to Dax.
Yeah.
Who the fuck is Dax? Do we ever
No,
see
Dexter.
Dexter.
Dexter Jester.
Do we ever see Dexter Jester in anything else?
No. Oh, unless he's in the Clone Wars. I've
might
only
be-
seen the Clone Wars once, so
Okay.
I think like of the air of what exists for Star Wars, I really feel like Clone Wars is. I wouldn't call it a complete blind spot, but I feel like Dexter might be one of those characters that pops up.
Jetster.
Dexter
Not
Jester.
Not Jester. Jetster. Jettster.
Yeah, it's just one of those words that
Jetster.
it's so easy to just slip into a closer word.
Jester.
But yeah, whether he shows up in the Clone Wars would be my only thing, but because I do think that would be an interesting thing. Well, because that would be after Episode 2, though. So
What is he, like a bounty hunter or something?
no, he's just an information guy.
Yeah, where does he get his information?
I don't know. Maybe that's a Tales of.
He was renowned for his hyperspace prospecting and worked closely with his friend Maz Kanata, the Pirate Queen.
Oh, that's an interesting connection they've made. I didn't know they'd made that connection. I mean, I assumed that.
You want a cup of Java juice?
That he's like he's the diner guy, but obviously I knew that he had
Yeah.
some other past. How would he know this shit otherwise? But no, I'm with you. I love him. He's always been one of my favorite like just side characters. So like, yeah, give me a fucking episode of some animated show like a Tales of, like
Yeah.
Tales of the Old Republic or something.
Yeah.
Or Tales of the Republic, not Old Republic, because that feels whatever. And then just plug in some stuff there where it's like, oh, where's the first time Obi-Wan met Dex?
Yeah.
Like that'd be an interesting question.
Yeah. How did he get to know Dex? My wife's calling me out in the chats when we were talking about us trying to see if we have the Force. I may or may not want the Force when I'm driving because I have a very sinister
You know-
plan
you-
of action if I ever do develop it.
You know who shares that with you?
Who?
Hato Potato.
Does he really?
Constantly says that. He's like, God, if I had the Force right now when we're driving.
Really?
Oh, yeah, all the time.
I didn't know that.
And you know what, for me?
Yeah.
It's not. You know who it is for me?
Who?
Magneto.
Oh, yeah.
When I'm in traffic, and just like, just give me Magneto's powers.
You just pick up all the cars, crush them, and throw them.
Maybe just one car sometimes.
Oh. See, and the thing is, like, I would never...
Or just roll it.
I would see. I wouldn't go that far, and I've told my wife this. I would never go that far. I don't want to kill someone. I don't want to maim someone because then they become a martyr and a sympathy and da. No, I'm the kind of guy who just breaks their axle. I move their car over to the side, and their axle goes, quick, and then they're just sitting there. How the hell did my axle break? And they have to deal with their car being completely destroyed.
Yeah.
That is vindictive, and that's something I'm all about. I'm a Jedi, I swear.
Not killing people. No comment on that. Because me, I would probably...
They would. Their car would be like this big.
Yeah, it'd be a sphere that I could put in my pocket.
It would be smaller than that.
All right, so this is the synopsis. So 6 episodes for Tales of the Empire. It says, after losing everything, young Morgan Elsbeth navigates the expanding Imperial world toward the path of vengeance, while former Jedi Barriss Offee does what she must to survive a rapidly changing galaxy. The choices they make will define their destinies. All 6 episodes drop on May 4th. So
That's cool.
What's interesting is, if I remember the Clone Wars right, didn't Barriss get arrested because of Anakin?
Yes.
So that last scene of the trailer when then Vader walks in and she's
like, huh?
I mean, not that she would know, but it's just one of those like ironies. Just feels sweet to the tongue where it's just like, oh man. Next up, I know we have had a lot of tangents, but we already had tangents before this. So
Yeah.
before we fully dove into the Star Wars tangent there, I already was kind of doubting whether, because like I don't want to shortchange Lord of the Rings either.
No, that's the
I
other thing
mean,
is like we got to put respect on it.
Yeah, they're 9 hours of movies there to talk about, for Christ's sake.
Longer than that.
What?
Longer than that.
3 hours each, right?
Nope. 4.5. 4 hours. 4 hours and 20-something minutes. All 3 of them.
Doesn't that... What? No, that's...
Extended editions are that long, sir. I just watched them with my wife. We looked at how long they were. For all 3 movies, it is over 12 hours.
So here's the thing that I remember. Do you remember back in the day when I lived at the house after high school?
Mm-hmm.
You and I, down in that unfinished basement, twice we had marathons.
Yep.
Once was all 6 Star Wars movies.
Yep.
Once was the 3 Lord of the Rings movies.
Yep.
How was it that the Lord of the Rings 3 movies was only like an hour and a half or 2 hours less than 6 Star Wars movies?
The theatrical runtime for the 3 movies is 9 hours and 3 minutes.
But see, here's the problem.
The extended edition is 11 hours and 36 minutes. It's almost 12 hours.
Yeah, here's the... Because here's the problem is I felt like during the DVD era, there was the whole, there's 40 minutes more in this movie, but then 30 minutes of it was the fucking credits where they put the fan club
in there.
And it's like, so that's where I was just
we looked at it, and there is extended credit times. I think Return of the King in Two Towers wasn't as bad as Fellowship, or maybe they were as bad.
I thought Return
of the King was the longest, yeah.
'Cause there's a lot more added into that. And I know now we're tanging into Lord of the Rings, but we're just touching on it because we will come back to it.
We will absolutely be doing respect that it needs.
Yeah, exactly. And to throw a tease out there for when we do get to it because we got more news to get through still.
Yeah.
The one thing, one of the reasons I picked it is because of our early friendship. That is probably one of the last pieces that we haven't really discussed.
Yep.
We've talked Star Wars. We talked a little bit Halo, not a lot yet, I guess. We haven't done a lot of video games yet. But Lord of the Rings was fucking huge. I mean, we were cutting class to go see or go get in line for midnight showings and stuff. So
our teachers knew what we were doing.
Oh yeah,
too.
it was great. So that's just a teaser to say that there's a lot. The Lord of the Rings is a big part of our early friendship for sure.
Yeah.
So next up, James Mangold's Dawn of the Jedi. Nab's Andor writer Bew Willman.
Oh, cool. I still need to watch it.
Williman. It's like Wilson, but the S is an M.
Willman.
Willman. Yeah, that's an interesting name. But also, I wanted to say, just because he wrote 3 episodes of Andor, also one of the reasons he may have got that job is because he also created the show House of Cards.
Oh.
So,
Is that all?
like Netflix's first hit.
Yeah.
The thing that put Netflix on the fucking
Like
map.
the first Netflix origin that everyone went, oh.
Yeah, the first one because like every streaming service, whether we all remember them all, they all had that one that really drove things. Amazon, it was Man in the High Castle.
Yep.
Netflix, it was House of Cards. Some of the newer ones maybe not as much because I don't think they've had the same kind of like
Hulu?
they didn't have to like prove themselves as much. It was more of just like Hulu because they had that used to be like the whole timeshare thing where all the studio or
You could
TV
watch
studios.
You could watch TV the next day.
Yeah, so
Yeah.
that was like where they got. But it just in the early days, there was those streaming services where they all kind of had their first really big
Yeah.
hit. But yeah, so Bew is nabbed to be one of the a writer on Dawn of the Jedi. Whether he is the writer, I don't know. I assume it's a movie. It's probably just him, but there could be rewrites. So that's an interesting thing. Yes, you do have to add Andor to your list. I'm really interested
It's
in what you
on
think
my
about
list. So is Tales of the Jedi. It's just that,
it. Tales of the Jedi
dude,
is
I'm just so like I seriously thought about turning on a Star Wars movie the other day, and I just went, like I'm just not in the mood for Star Wars right now. I don't know what it is. What's wrong with me? But I'm also that way with Marvel now.
yeah.
My daughter and I were talking the other day. I don't know what the conversation was, but I did the Black Panther line. All of you were wrong.
Oh my God.
The scene with his dad and the whatever,
tree.
the tree, whatever
Yeah.
they call it, and everything. And I'm like, she's like, that's from Black Panther? I'm like, yeah. Black Panther's like her favorite. She loves Black Panther. And I'm like, you don't remember? She goes, no, I haven't watched it for a while. I'm like, we should watch it. She's like, yeah, I still haven't seen the second one either. And I'm like, oh my God. Back to what I was saying. My
Yeah.
kid doesn't watch movies. And I'm just like, I got thinking about it after we talked about that. I went back to playing Fallout, and I was like, I don't want to watch Marvel movies. Like, I don't know what's wrong with me, Tad.
See, I flipped. I'm still pretty stoked into Star Wars. I had to put it aside for X-Men, which I still failed to finish before the show started, and I haven't watched a lot. But I am actually intrigued because I'm right at.
Shame.
I'm.
Shame.
What's her name from Ted Lasso?
Yeah. Oh, yeah, that's Rebecca.
Yeah, it's Rebecca.
Oh, that's going to blow my wife's mind.
Oh, it didn't. She didn't know that, huh?
I didn't know that.
Really?
No.
Yeah. Think about just. I know she has like the
Physical presence,
the
yeah.
nun thing, but like that's her. When they cast her in Ted Lasso, I'm like, that's the Shame lady.
She says she did know that, and she didn't tell me. How dare? How dare?
But yeah, I'm going through everything chronologically. I did episode 1, 2, 3, and then I did. Oh God, what did I do next? I watched something.
Rogue One.
No, because I was maybe I did episode 3. Then I think what I did is I jumped to Andor, and I watched like 40 or 75% of the first episode when it dawned on me that I was like, wait a minute, no, Obi-Wan needs to come first. So I stopped.
Yes.
So I need to jump into Obi-Wan, then I'll watch Andor again, and on and on and on. But yes, yeah, jumping to the next thing here. The Mandalorian and Grogu gets its date.
Okay.
It is coming out May 22nd, 2026.
Is that going to be the title?
The Mandalorian and Grogu?
Yeah.
Yeah. They announced that when they announced the movie was, I mean, whether it gets renamed, but that's what apparently what the title is now.
Mandalorian and Grogu.
The Mandalorian and Grogu.
The Mandalorian and Grogu.
So I'm super stoked about this because it is May.
Yeah.
I know that now the new tradition is December.
Yep.
And they've had better box office in December because you have time because there's almost no movies in January.
Yeah.
But that's fucking Star Wars time, man.
Dude, May is Star Wars time.
Yeah, late May, like that is fucking Star Wars. That is when 6 of the movies came out. Was then, and actually set because one of the Disney era ones did.
Yeah, because it got pushed back because of COVID.
It was
right?
Solo, I think. No, it was.
Oh no, that one. Yeah.
Solo came out.
Rogue One came out in the summer too.
It
came out in June, I think.
No, it didn't. It came out in December because I walked out of my second showing when Carrie passed away, and that was in December.
Yeah.
Yeah, I was over at the Megaplex at the Valley Fair Mall.
Correct, December 16th,
Yeah.
2016.
And I knew she had the stroke and everything on the plane, but I went into that second screening, and when I walked out, I looked down at my phone and saw the text that she had passed. So after seeing her on screen there in that last bit of that was so yeah, I'll always remember that. But yes, I'm really excited.
Our queen.
Late May. That is the time for Star Wars. So I'm really happy that Mando and the little child will be coming out then. So
Baby Yoda.
yeah, that's always what he'll be.
Yeah.
He is Baby Yoda. I mean, if they wanted us to call him Grogu, that needed to have been in episode 1 or episode 2.
He's just holding a birth certificate that says
A dog tag. Just put a little fucking chain on him like a goddamn animal.
a little.
Oh, what's this? It's a little guy. What does that say there? Oh, Grogu. Oh, that must be his name. That's it. You want me to call him that? Great. If not, I'm calling him fucking Baby Yoda. And you can't wait a year or a fucking season and a half before you give me a character to tell me its fucking name. Jesus Christ.
This is the hill you're gonna die on, huh?
Seriously, man. They had to know, too. When they made this character, they had to know nobody's going to call this thing the fucking child. That is stupid.
Yeah.
They had to know. People are going to go, oh, it's a Baby Yoda. Like, they had to fucking know. If they didn't, they should all be fucking fired because that's like a level of stupidity that...
My wife says little collar with a name tag and then the laughing, crying emoji. No, not a name tag. A dog tag. He said a dog tag.
Well,
a dog tag. He's insulting
no.
Grogu.
No, that could be a military thing.
Oh, okay. Yeah, because he was,
I'm not saying like crop his ear with a fucking tag like a fucking cow. But if they did do that, I want to see the scene of them piercing his ear with it. Oh, that look of absolute detesting from you. I love it. I live for it.
Nope, that one doesn't fit.
When he's all like sad
Stop
and
it,
beaten
Tad.
down after
Stop.
Gideon tortures him, it's
Shame. Shame.
You stop. You stop now.
Oh man, I love the spirit of it. All right, next up we've got moving out of the Star Wars realm. Allegedly, rumor is there is a Matrix game being developed. Another Matrix game.
I played the fuck out of one Matrix game. Holy cow!
What was that one called on the original Xbox? Right?
Reloaded? No,
that was the movie. I thought Reloaded too, but no, that was the name of the fucking movie.
Awakens.
Awakens? Okay.
The Matrix Awakens.
Really? Is that what your Google's telling you?
That's what it says.
Interesting.
Hang on, wait. Oh no, wait. That's the new one.
Yeah, that's what I was going to say.
Wait a minute.
I was like, are they referring to the old? Or I wonder if the new one's referring to the old one. But no, you caught with the new one.
It's called Enter the Matrix. Is the old one.
That's right. So a Twitter person with a long history of accurate leaks for the gaming community says that they are developing a Matrix video game, and that it has been in development since before the last Matrix film, which means would have been in development.
2019,
a couple years, yeah.
Because Matrix was COVID.
I think it was pre-COVID, wasn't it?
No, it was COVID affected. So then it came out on Max.
That's right. That's
right.
right. Yeah. And so then its code name is Awake. They do say there is a potential that maybe they're not working on it anymore and it got flushed, but there is no sign of that right now. So there may very well be a new Matrix game on the way. And because sometimes I love burying the lead, I did do that here because the next thing is there is actually, this isn't a rumor, a new Matrix film coming out. And it is being written and directed by Drew Goddard.
Okay.
Which is,
Who's that?
We all know Drew as, I just blanked on his first movie, but he did Bad Times at the El Royale, Cabin in the Woods.
Bad Times at El Royale. I need to watch that again. Oh, God, that is such a good movie.
Such a fucking good movie. And Drew, I mean,
it's such a good movie.
Cabin in the Woods was brilliant too. So it's like Cabin in the Woods, then Bad Times at the El Royale.
Oh.
I was like, basically, I'm like to the point where I'm like, if Drew Goddard does anything, I'm fucking there. So when they sign up and say they're having him do a Matrix movie, I'm like, dude.
I can't remember. Lydia, my wife, did you like Cabin in the Woods when you rewatched it? I know you hated it the first time because
I thought you said she liked it.
The
Martian. He also did The Martian.
Oh, The Martian's good too.
Yeah,
dude, this guy's putting out bangers.
I know, and the thing is he has some gaps. Like when you go look at like Cabin in the Woods to Bad Times at El Royale, that's like a 6-7 year window or something.
Well, no, Martian's in between that.
Let's see. Let me pull up his writers. Or okay, maybe he was a producer. That was upcoming. I was like, none of these movies look like
No,
movies.
yeah, they have that stupid previous now section.
So he was a staff writer on Buffy the Vampire Slayer and Angel and Alias.
It's that Goddard? I recognize his name now.
And he wrote the first Cloverfield movie.
Oh, that's a great movie.
He was a writer on Lost. He was writer on
Lost was good.
Buffy the Vampire Slayer season 8 motion comic.
Yeah.
Cabin in the Woods in 2011. World War Z in 2013. Screenplay, but I wonder if it was actually his screenplay all the way or if it got... Because that's a bad mark, but it doesn't come near overpowering.
Wait, which one was it?
World War Z.
Oh, yeah, World War Z was...
So Cabin in the Woods, and then The Martian in 2015, and then he was a writer on The Defenders, the Netflix. He did an episode of that, and then Bad Times at the El Royale in 2018, and then Daredevil, 39 episodes. He was pretty heavily involved in Daredevil.
Oh, damn.
So, yeah, he's got some fucking bangers, man. So,
dude, I love Buffy the Vampire Slayer. That's it's one of those ones that I've always called it my guilty pleasure, and I don't care about guilty pleasure anymore. I love it.
yeah.
It's one of those ones that...
She said she liked it when she wrote
Yeah,
it.
she did.
Thought
Okay,
you told
good.
me that.
Well, I think part of it, large part of it was that, and she could correct me if I'm wrong or say yes if
It's
I'm
expectations.
right. I think a large part of it is that she's more versed in horror now.
Oh, yeah, that's true, too.
I think that was the big problem, is that we watched it when she had seen like one or two really good horror movies. Because you understand, my wife did not watch good movies before she met me. Not many. No, she will say this.
Kind of like you didn't watch as many good movies before you met
Exactly.
me. I
No,
won't say you didn't watch
you
any good movies, because you watched some.
I
but-
did, but I did not watch nearly as many good movies until I met you. It's the same thing with her. She did not watch Boondock Saints, The Crow. All of those influenced her, but one of the things that she took to, like a duck takes to water, she loves horror movies.
Yeah.
So when I introduced her to like Halloween, she's watched Nightmare on Elm Street. Friday the 13th she had never watched. She still claims that she's never watched some, that even though I know she has, because I make a joke about one of them all the time. But stuff like that. We watched the Hellraiser one on Hulu.
That was fun.
Yeah. So
That
and
was a-
she
that was-
loves.
That was a fun one with Hayden.
Oh,
too.
I bet. I bet. And that's the other thing, is she loves going to horror movies with Hayden, because one of the things is it takes kind of the edge off from the society norm that she's the girl, that she has to be scared and she's going to cry out and everything. She doesn't have to worry about that because Hayden's way worse than she is.
The Woman in Black with Harry Potter. Remember that? Do you ever see that one? Horror movie? 2013,
yes,
2012.
Yeah. You put it on my list.
Okay, so
the year that you did my horror-thon for me.
I saw that with a group of people in the theaters.
Yeah.
I don't know why. I don't know how. But I ended up with a husband on this side and a wife on this side. I was in the middle. I don't know why.
Okay.
The wife was laughing. The husband was burying his fucking head in my shoulder.
Oh, yeah. I remember this story.
So let's not get into like how.
Well, it's the society.
No,
norm,
I know,
you
but
know?
it's yeah, exactly.
It's stupid and it's not justified and everything like that. But she says, correct. I did not realize what horror movies should have been. I should have been watching Cabin in the with Cabin in the Woods. Also correct. I did not know good movies before Peter. See, that's what I'm saying. It's like she will be the first to admit it that she did not know good movies and everything like that.
So you're saying she just doesn't know how good Child's Play is?
I've tried, Tad. You're willing to take a crack here. You have an open mic. She's listening. She's watching. Tell her. Go ahead.
5-year-old Tad gives 2 thumbs up to.
So if you watch Child's Play, you'll turn out like that.
All right.
I'm science, right?
So Drew says it's not hyperbole to say the Matrix films changed both cinema and my life. Lana and Lily exquisite artistry inspires me on a daily basis, and I am beyond grateful for the chance to tell a story in their world. This also likely means this is probably like I'm inferring this from the news, but I would also say we talked about a rumor that Drew Goddard was one of the rumored directors for Spider-Man 4. That is probably not happening at this point.
Probably not.
So
she
yeah,
has a message for you.
Drew is probably out of the question there, but cannot wait to see what he has for us in the Matrix. Because like just reading through that list, I forgot some of them. This guy
bangers.
I don't care about World War Z with all that other shit. World War Z doesn't fucking compute.
Hey, you know what? Some people miss once. It
yeah,
happens.
I mean, and also it's
Spielberg has bad movies too,
and it's a thing too where he writes a script and doesn't mean the director has the same vision. There was like the famous one where there's some stuff that Tarantino wrote something, but then had somebody else direct it, but they didn't really understand his style.
Yeah.
So they wrote everything that he wrote. They basically had the people play it straight. So like kind of that Tarantino vibe just wasn't there. So suddenly it was like, what the fuck is this? Like, because the director just didn't know what the written words were supposed to be like or whatever.
Right.
So it could have been that kind of thing too.
Her message to you. Nope. Never. Will not happen. Not watching Child's Play. That is what my wife wrote to you. So if you think that I'm slacking, you can see that she's
the
like,
Mark
no.
Hamill one is really good too.
Oh God.
The Mark Hamill one, and that one was interesting because it completely took everything. It was completely different. Like honestly, outside of the fact that there's a doll named Chucky, like it isn't the same thing. It's not a killer that's inhabiting a body. It's completely a different thing. And I would say that Chucky's not even evil in that one. It's almost more of like a kind of a misunderstanding kind of thing where it's like,
really,
yeah, it's so interestingly done. Like I give so much props to that one.
That's a reboot movie?
The reboot one that Mark Hamill voiced.
I forgot about that.
Yeah, I recommend it.
I love Mark Hamill's voicing stuff.
Yes,
so.
there is that.
I mean, he's my Joker, so.
Yeah. Let's go ahead and jump on in. We are getting lower on time. Next up, Frankie Muniz says that a Malcolm in the Middle revival is as close as it has ever been to being a thing. He says, without giving too much away because there's nothing confirmed, but it is the closest it's ever been to being a reality. If it is going to happen, it'll happen soon. But you know what? We have also been saying that for 8 years. He says we don't want to just be one of the many shows that gets rebooted over the last couple of years and probably shouldn't have. So we do it. That's the biggest thing. We want to make sure it's good. With an iconic show like we had, you don't want to taint it. You want to have the same impact that people would have had watching it to make sure that it's a good product. So I think it'd be great, man. If they can get like Bryan Cranston back, because he was a fucking gem in that show, dude.
You go back and watch some of the scenes with him. There's one scene that comes up.
Skating?
No, there's one scene for him that comes up, and I don't know what episode it is. I don't know what context it is. I never really watched Malcolm in the Middle.
Oh, really? I loved it.
But my wife says the same thing, that she loves it. But there's one scene where Bryan Cranston comes bursting into the room, and the three boys are sitting at the table. I need someone to take the fall. I will give you $5. 10. Done. Oh my God! Like the mom from, I don't even know the mom's name.
Dude, she
screams from the other room. Oh my God! Don't worry, honey. I got him. I know who did it. And she grabs the boy.
Yeah. The thing is that's funny is like we all like look at Bryan Cranston now as the star, but like when that show was airing, she was the fucking star.
Yeah.
She was the thing that drew everybody to the show. Everyone loved her.
Yeah.
Like if there were memes in those days, it would have been her. Like she was the fucking driving force of that show. But now because of Breaking Bad and shit, we all look back retroactively and realize
that's Bryan Cranston?
Well, we also realize the genius of what he did, but I don't think he was nearly as appreciated at the time. Yeah. It was all about the mom. I mean, she was wonderful. All right, so now we're getting into the Marvel realm, and I believe this will finish us out for the episode. I was going to say the news, but that's also the episode. So first off, every Spider-Man movie is returning to theaters. Well, every live-action Spider-Man movie is returning to theaters.
That's cool.
Starting next month, starting with the Sam Raimi originals, each film is going to be giving a week-long run. Disney, I wish you fucking learned something and did this for Star Wars. They'll run from Monday to Sunday and are being dubbed Spider Mondays.
That's cool.
That is cool. Although I could just only imagine what a Spider Monday would be like if Spider-Man didn't exist as a character.
Oh, Spider Mondays.
Just spiders everywhere on Mondays. Spiders. They come out from under your keys.
Yeah.
And, like in your bathroom sink.
They're in your shoes.
Oh, yeah, absolutely.
In the toilets.
There is some speculation that this might be actually...
Wait, are we just describing Australia?
She said in the
toilet. She said in the toilet.
Or in the shower, if you watch Arachnophobia, yeah.
No, those are bad spiders.
There is speculation that this might actually be an attempt to recoup the losses of Madam Web.
Oh, gosh.
Dude, the thing I don't fucking get, I don't know, I'm not going to say I'm, like, smart in like this larger sense.
Sure.
But there's times I see, like, these trailers, and I'm like, this is going to flop. How the fuck did anyone think this was a good idea? Yeah. And this is one of those. And like Craven's the same way. I'm like, what the fuck are these people smoking? This is not going to be. And
Sony, I don't know what Sony's doing.
And it's not just Sony and it's not just Marvel. There's just other times where I'll see a trailer and I'm like, that's a fucking flop. And I'm like, am I just like a fucking Rain Man for
gods of Egypt?
Like, should they be hiring me to like tell them when these scripts come up? Like, that's a fucking flop, dude. Because like, and again, I'm not saying like I'm this card counter that knows this shit. It's just I'll see these trailers and I'll be like, no. Like, not only do I not want to see it, this is gonna fucking go down in flames.
Yeah, those movies that are gonna flop. You've just called it for years.
I don't get it. And that one.
You remember Gods of Egypt? When we saw that trailer, I was like, Tad, what about Gods of Egypt? You're like, that movie looks so bad.
John Carter.
Yeah. John Carter, yep.
Yeah, it's, oh, my God. One of my biggest fears is finding a spider in the Hey, who of us has not had that fear?
I mean, I have.
Come on.
Yeah.
They're fucking little 8-legged aliens. Like, just, it just gives you the heebie-jeebies.
8-legged freaks.
So Spider-Man is on April 15th. 2 is on April 22nd. 3 is on 29th. Amazing number 1 is on May 6th, which, look at that, right near Star Wars. Amazing 2 is on May 13th. Homecoming the 20th. Far From Home the 27th. And No Way Home on June 3rd. So that is your schedule to go see any of the Spider-Man movies. If you've missed any of them, or if you want to see them again on the big screen, or you want to bring a kid that's never seen certain ones on the big screen, those are your chances. That's really cool.
That's cool.
I wish Disney would do something like that for Star Wars.
Instead of just one day.
Instead of one day all at once, which I can't wait for, but I really wish I could just go and watch all the movies at my leisure.
Yeah.
Next up, more Spider-Man news. The rumor, I guess, not news. Rumor, Justin Lin is rumored to be eyed to direct Spider-Man 4. He has done a number of Fast and Furious movies. Also, there's been some talk that Zendaya has delayed Euphoria Season 3, so it sounds like Spider-Man is the next project on her calendar, so that's probably going to be filming fairly soon.
Excellent.
So, I also have to point out my sub-tag on this. Did you see that one? I am.
He's done Fast and Furious films. Well, this can't be about family. He doesn't have family.
Not anymore, as Hannibal says.
Hashtag Tad is family.
I don't like to have to call out, when I put a joke up, but some of them are so good, I'm like, if Peter doesn't catch it, I've got to point it out.
Yeah.
So,
I honestly forget that they're there.
Yeah.
Because we don't have that on the other show, so I'm still trying to get used to it.
I got a hashtag that is terrible. Next up, Deadpool and Logan. Allegedly, this is a rumor, is primarily set in the Void from Loki. And honestly, the second I saw this, I'm like, this makes so much fucking sense. How the fuck have we not seen this before? Because, I mean, I know there was that initial set leak and there was like the 20th Century Fox like in the sand and shit. Like, how do we not fucking piece that was the Void?
Yeah.
Like, we're idiots. Like, to be honest.
You're an idiot.
We're idiots. Like, it's like, in retrospect, it's so fucking obvious. I don't know how
Absolutely.
So the Void is seen in Loki. It's the place at the end of time and space where people go who have been pruned, which also makes you wonder about some of the rumors we've been hearing about people we're going to see involved. So very interesting. Also, I don't know if I've read this before, but I did see this and it seemed unfamiliar. It says, after facing some professional setbacks while going through a midlife crisis, Wade Wilson decides he is officially retiring as Deadpool and becomes a used car salesman. But when his friends, family, and the whole world are at stake, Deadpool decides to bring his katanas out of retirement. He recruits an unwilling and wary Wolverine not only to fight for their survival, but ultimately their legacy. So I don't know if I've read that before. That seems really new to me. So yeah, I'm glad it's new to you. I'm glad you're not just like, dude, we fucking heard that before.
I have not.
I would have felt stupid.
No.
Next up, Zendaya. Zoe Saldana has strong words for Marvel regarding Guardians. She was asked if she was done playing Gamora in the MCU and said, I mean, so far I think that she is gone for good for me, but I don't think Gamora is gone for good. Recasting probably needs to happen. That's what they need to realize at a certain point. Like with animated, you could just keep going with these voice actors forever, but with actors, you're only going to have them around for so long. Like, do you just keep rebooting it, or at some point do you just start recasting people? But she says, I think it would be a huge loss for Marvel if they didn't find a way to bring the Guardians of the Galaxy back. It just is such a fan favorite group of misfits, And then at the helm, they had a voice like James Gunn writing, which is just so marvelous and very specific for this genre. And it's so great for the genre as well. So I would be the first one in the first row to sort of celebrate when Guardians of the Galaxy come back. So kind of interesting, and I don't disagree with her. They would be fucking fools if they don't figure something out. I know they left some people still existing. Like, I think they could recoup the Guardians, maybe have some new members alongside.
Well, we have a new
existing.
Guardians team.
Yeah, so it's cool to see though. And then next one here, Sam Raimi says he hopes to direct Secret Wars, but he has not been asked yet. He was at a convention, and he was asked about Marvel and specifically Secret Wars. He says, I love 90% of Marvel heroes that I've ever read in the great Stan Lee's cinematic universe. I would love to, and so I guess there he's talking about in the comic books. I would love to work with Marvel again. They haven't reasonably asked me to. I hope they have they hope they had good experiences with me, but they haven't asked me yet, but I hope they do. So...
Nice.
I mean, sign me up. We also know we heard the rumors that Feige was really happy with him because he felt like he didn't really have to babysit. He was like, this is a grown-up director that's been doing this shit for a long fucking time, and he had one of the more successful superhero trilogies of all time with the Spider-Man films. Like, this guy knows what he's doing. I could just let him go, and I can go fly off and deal with something else. Like,
I can go put out a fire over here in She-Hulk.
Yeah, and he liked that bit. So, next up, we've got Fantastic Four casts Julia Garner as Silver Surfer. I don't know. Did you see this at all?
No.
So Julia is known from Ozark as well as Inventing Anna and Waco. She was also in the Waco show.
Okay.
In the comics, Galactus has several heralds. That is one of the heralds is obviously the Silver Surfer, who scour the galaxy looking for planets for him to consume, and they are granted a sliver of his cosmic powers. There have been a number of female heralds over the years, but she is going to be playing Shala Bal. And this character is created by Stan Lee and John Buscema back in 1968's Silver Surfer #1. She was the empress of the planet Zen-La, which is a civilization of peace and enlightenment. She was the love interest of Norrin Rad, who became the Silver Surfer. Rad became the Silver Surfer, so Galactus would spare his planet and Shala Bal. So, love story. He sacrifices himself, becomes a Silver Surfer, spare my planet, spare my loved one, moves on. So it would seem there's a potential they're actually flipping this, and Shala is going to become the Silver Surfer. Maybe she gives the sacrifice for him to save themselves from Galactus. But there is also one version I think it was around 99, where they split the role. Like, he ends up splitting the powers and role with her, and they're both the Silver Surfer. Okay. So there is that as well. But I also wonder if this is something multiverse happening. Imagine if Earth in this multiverse gets eaten by Galactus, or if the Fantastic Four save the planet, but then the whole universe gets wiped out. What do they call it? Doctor Strange and Loki, when the world universes basically get destroyed.
Collide?
There's a word for
Collision?
it. I should have looked it up when I was doing my notes. But either way, if that happens, you know how funny that would be? They save the fucking world from Galactus, and the whole fucking galaxy gets is it incursion?
I think that's right.
But it just makes me wonder: is there some shenanigans going on with the multiverse? But that also is the article here bearing the lead, because I guess that kind of confirms that Galactus is the villain in the Fantastic Four film. I'm also going to nest another rumor in this one and say there have been rumors out there that Marvel's top choice for Galactus is Javier Bardem.
Oh boy.
Call it. Flips a coin. He's outside of Earth.
Yeah.
Call it. So yeah, that's really cool. And then to go along with that, Marvel released not to go along with that, but I think these two things feel slightly connected, especially my multiverse thing, my multiverse theory, because Marvel shared this poster art for the Fantastic Four, and the first thing I noticed,
4/4 day.
It was 4/4 day. It was on April 4th. So they Fantastic 4 day or whatever. But what I've noticed is, what is that city? That doesn't look like New York that you or I know. So I kind of wonder, man, are we going to another universe for this movie?
Futuristic world.
And then
some of those buildings don't look like what we would design.
No, not even in our MCU.
Yeah.
Because I know our MCU is different. Like the Avengers building, super futuristic and shit.
Yeah.
But no, that looks different. So I'm kind of wondering if we're going to end up seeing that Fantastic Four's galaxy or world destroyed to the point where they then have to come into the new MCU.
Yeah.
I don't know. Just speculation. But then it's kind of interesting that they put this out on 4/4. And then the last thing we've got is a rumor that Spider-Man 4, that Peter Parker is going to get lost and Spider-Man is going to take over almost entirely, which wouldn't be surprising considering where we left
Yeah.
Peter at the end of that film.
Yeah.
And so, quote, this idea now moving forward is to give him a sense of independence. In his mind, Peter Parker is no more, but Spider-Man lives on. Since he has either lost or detached himself from everyone he's ever loved, all he has to keep him going is being Spider-Man, whether the city loves him for it or not. And as the title of the Spider-Man continues to consume Peter's life little by little, Peter Parker will take a back seat and continue to fade from existence slowly. The story point could be compared to Robert Pattinson's Batman and the Batman, is the comp from the rumor. It's
pretty cool.
And that would perfectly fit what they've built for us so far with where we left Peter at the end of that last movie. So, the news and some tangents ended up getting us here. No, it's fine though, because again, it was even before that Star Wars tangent. We were already hitting some things and chatting a little bit more than normal, and there was a lot of news too.
We also got to get back to hanging out with this show.
Yeah, for
for
sure.
It's been a minute.
I think this is still a fun conversation.
I
thought it was a lot of fun. So let's jump on over to the emails. If you want to contact the show, if you want to yell at us for not getting to Lord of the Rings, although the title wasn't on the video for very long, so not like there was a ton of expectations where 2 weeks ago we said Lord of the Rings is 2 weeks from now, and then this happened. So won't take all the way. Well, also we should mention too the schedule. I should have thought of that at the beginning of the show. First of all, let's hit that for the emails. Or we did the emails already. Peter or Tad at geekerybuyds.com. Tad is TADD. Peter is how you would spell it if you were anyone not living in Moscow.
So in Russia, Peter spells you.
But scheduling wise, I've already mentioned last episode that the May 4th episode will be delayed.
Yep.
But it looks like we're also going to be skipping next episode. The 20th is going to be delayed to 27th.
Yeah.
So we have this episode. You won't see us again until the 27th. And then it will actually, interestingly, be another 2 weeks because we're skipping the 4th to the 11th. And then in May, that's where we'll catch up. So just know that's kind of the schedule. That all got figured out very recently. So even the Dark Tower show's not aware of that.
Yep.
We'll announce on social media. But just know, won't see us again until the 27th. Then you won't see us till the 11th. And then after that, we'll be back. We'll have two butted.
11th and the 18th.
11th and 18th butted together. And then we'll be back on schedule.
Yes.
So, and then next time on, what is it? Or what do we got, Peter? It's a little bit small because it's a longer title.
Top 10 video games that you would want to replay for the first time. So I will say I want to see sequels here. So don't come at me with saying, "Oh, I would replay Mario." No, I want individual games.
Oh yeah, no, absolutely.
So that's why we're doing 10 games, because I don't want you coming back and saying, "Oh, I'd replay Sonic." Which Sonic?
Sonic's trash.
I know. Which Mario? Sorry.
It's me, Mario.
Yeah. You're an Italian plumber.
Italian plumber.
Made by
stereotype
the Japanese.
made by the Japanese.
Yeah.
that's like cultural progress,
Yep.
sir. So top 10. If anyone wants to send a list in email wise, you can as well.
If you don't have 10, that's fine.
Peter will be driving that episode, so if you want to send it his direction, Peter at geekerybuyds.com. But yeah, that'll be next time, which I do have it right on the screen, right? Except that I don't have the number at the bottom right. It says catch episode 30, which is last time's episode. So it'll be 32. Catch episode 32 on April 27th, 2024. Same bat time, same bat channel. And we will sign off as we always do by saying, love what you love, let your geek flag fly high, and to hell with anyone that will tell you something like guilty pleasure. And I know Peter said that earlier, but he said it in a way of knowing that that's not a thing anymore.
Not anymore.
What do you got to say to sign off, sir?
My ending was supposed to be towards the show, and we didn't do Lord of the Rings, so bye. I turned off my computer and my light went out. See, that was perfect timing.
Yeah, you faded out. All right, let's
Good night, sweet prince.
see you guys.